The whole side of my foot is cut. Like the whole side. And it's me, it's my foot, it's my body. She ran me over. Long story short, blood is everywhere. Everybody's screaming. My dad runs over, pulls me out. My shoe's halfway ripped off. Blood is everywhere. I mean, it looked like a thriller, psycho freaking movie. And my dad takes his shirt off, wraps up my foot, puts me in the car, and we race like 100 miles an hour to a hospital that's probably an hour and a half away. People who molest children. What was the number one thing that you looked at before you decided to take a target out on a child? My manager pages me to the tower and he goes, Andy, do you know how much money you just made? You just made $1,700. Let me tell you something. Payroll's tomorrow morning, so you're gonna get a $1,700 check tomorrow morning. Plus, you won high gross of the month, Andy. He's like, you hit the biggest gross of all month in our dealership, your very first car deal. And that's gonna give you $500 cash in the morning.
Welcome to In Search of Excellence, where I get to meet some of the most talented, successful people in the world. My guest today is Andy Elliott, who went from the least likely to succeed as a kid to becoming one of the most successful coaches and best coaches in history. He's coached over 600,000 people and over 13,000 companies. Well, Andy, thanks for being here. Welcome to In Search of Excellence. Your story is amazing, and I always start my show with our parents. So I want to go back to the 7th grade when you were living with your dad. You grew up broken household, and you and your dad had this fight. And tell us about the fight and then this fishing trip that never really happened.
Yeah, so my mom left when I was 2 years old, right? Which it's not a victim story, but so she leaves. And by the way, my mom and my dad get a divorce when I'm 2 years old. She leaves, so my dad divorces her, she bails. She gets custody of my 2 sisters. You know what I'm saying? Right? And my dad takes me. And we get separated for about 2 years. And then one day, my mom, she calls my dad, and I guess I'm about 4 at this time, and she's like, come get him. I'm sick of him. And so that's my mom, just so you're aware. She's an alcoholic. She was always putting her head through the wall, guys coming in the house. It was a bad place for my sisters. So my dad, we drive down there, pick up my sisters, bring them back. So I really didn't know my mom, but I knew that every couple years I'd get a phone call, right? And it would be like, hey, if you ever want to come to Ohio, the Great Lakes are here, we go fishing, it's so cool. And so it would be a once every couple year call, right? And it would be the cell of hope, she's a cool mom, whenever maybe she wasn't drinking or whatever. And then so 7th grade, testosterone's flowing. Right? I'm hitting puberty. I'm in 7th grade. I'm chasing girls. And my dad's like, no, you're not going out. And I'm like, no. And I get into this big fight with my dad. And it's just part of dad's son growing up. And I was like, that was after I'd gotten one of those phone calls from my mom about 3 weeks earlier. And she was like, come down here, go fishing. I'm your mom. I miss you. It would be so cool. I've never seen her. It's like a theory in my head. You know what I'm saying? I mean, last time I saw her, maybe it was a kid one time. And so I threw it in my dad's face and I'm like, hey man, dude, listen, I'm just going to go live with my mom, because that's what you say because you want to hurt somebody, right? I'm just thinking I can attack my dad here. And, and we were all a broken home. There was always a different stepmom in the house. There were stepkids in the house.
Wasn't he married 7 times?
A lot of times. Jerry Springer show for sure, right? It was full Jerry Springer. But the biggest thing is that my dad, he goes, and sometimes it's good when your kids, test you, okay, call them out. Cool, let's go see how that works. And so my dad did that for me. And it was really good because it set the tone for a lot of things. And it showed me that, my dad, even though we had a Jerry Springer family, my dad he's still there with us, right? He never left us. He was always there with us. As crazy as it was, as broke as we were, all the wild stories, he never left. He was always there with us. And anyways, he's like, okay, cool. We'll fly you out to see your mom. If that's what you want, that's fine. And I remember I was like, dude, this is going to be awesome. So I remember just one call my mom. She's like, hey, you're going to fly out here. I'm going to pick you up from the airport. We're going to take you, where do you want to go? I was like, I want to go fishing. She's like, cool. We're going to take you to Lake Erie. We're going to go fishing. We're going to catch walleye. You're not going to believe this. The most beautiful stuff. We're going to have the greatest time you've ever. I'm like, dude, this is awesome. My mom is the best. And so we catch a flight to Ohio. I've never been on a plane. As soon as I land, my mom picks me up. Remember, she starts bawling. She's like, oh my gosh, my son. We get in her car. We drive to the gas station and she's like, hey, I think we bought some worms or something. And she's like, get you a drink. I'm going to go to the bathroom. We'll go fishing. And so anyways, I bought me a drink and I was probably, 12 or 13. And I remember I was sitting in the car, and I probably sat in the car for 45 minutes or an hour, and she never came out. And so, you're in another state, right? You're a kid. I mean, this is in the 80s. I mean, you remember, right? Like, everybody was smoking everywhere. I mean, it was just like back in the old days, kids used to ride their bikes, never come home for days. That was our life anyways. It was just crazy. And I remember sitting there and I was like, hey, can you go check on my mom? Like in the bathroom. And I remember this lady walked in there and she's like, yeah, there's a lady passed out on the floor. And I remember I walked in and there's 2 bottles of vodka laying on the floor and she's passed out. And that was the trip. And so, social service picks me up and takes me back to the airport, flies me back home to my dad. And I was like, man, okay. So my mom's a loser. Listen, even if she's watching this, she's a loser. Like she's someone who doesn't want help. And she's just such a bad perspective. We've tried to help her whole life. And every time we do, it's always ended up being our fault. And, anyways, everybody has that person in their life.
So growing up with a single dad for most of your life, I want to talk about, you mentioned...
Well, he was always in a relationship, yeah. But like the stepmoms were crazy.
Talk about the smoking. My mom smoked too. And back in the day, smoke in the car and, cough it out like you said before. And it just, I'd get these migraine headaches. And sometimes it takes an epiphany for something in our family for one of our parents to change. So tell us about when your sister ran you over.
Did you hear that story?
Hey,
I
mower.
knew that you felt like you were sitting in the car with me when I was telling that story, right?
I did, because to this day, the smell of cigarette smoke,
I'm
allergic to it.
Yes.
And people, my wife is over there, will say, if someone's smoking in a restaurant or we're downstream, and Europe is the worst place to go, right? Because people are smoking. I can't sit there. And for someone else, they don't like it. For me, it does something to my brain where it makes me physically sick.
Yes, me too. It gives me a migraine. I don't get migraine headaches only with that smell, and it takes me back to the car.
And so
yeah, dude, it's like PTSD.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's like PTSD of war. And but I remember my dad. So the cars we drove, they were no air conditioner. You're 100 degrees in Oklahoma. It's just hot. It's humid, and there's chain smoking one after another. And I remember my dad. He's chain smoking one after another. And I remember I was like, Dad, can we please crack the window? My head is killing me. I hate the smell of smoke. I feel like I'm sick. And back then, no one cared. Remember that? Like, we're the parents, shut up.
A different generation then.
We're the adult, yeah.
Yeah.
Like now, I told somebody now, if I was to spank my son in public, I would go to jail.
Right.
You used to get the hell beat out of you in public. And they were like, beat that kid. It was a whole different thing now. And but I just remember, though, that I asked my dad so many times, can we please crack the window? And, dude, I wasn't asking him to stop smoking. I said, can you crack the window? And he was like, I'm the kid, or I'm the dad. No. And long story short, you said, don't wait for something bad to happen before you change. And most people, they do wait for something bad to happen. They're in a good relationship with somebody. Something's amazing. They're doing something stupid. They don't think that there's an effect to it. And boom, something happens. And they're like, oh my God, I should have straightened up. Or, I can just think about this so many times in my life. But this time, we were on our way out to this land. My dad had this dream of putting this trailer out on this piece of property. And my sister was 10 years old. And her job that day was to mow this big field with a riding lawnmower. And you know what riding lawnmowers are, right? She sits on it. They mow the whole field down. And I'm 4 years old. She's 6 years older than me, my older one. And I'm chasing behind her. Like, so she's mowing a path through this field, and I'm just like following her. And she comes up on this stump, and then she decides to put it in reverse and back up because there's a log that she hit. And when she did, I was behind her. And so she backs up over me. And you hear this... And it's me, it's my foot, it's my body. She ran me over. And she didn't mean to. Is this an accident? Long story short, blood is everywhere. And by the way, the lawnmower's on me. And so everybody's screaming. My dad runs over, pulls me out. My shoe's halfway ripped off. Blood is everywhere. And I'm talking like, I remember yesterday, everybody was covered in blood. It looked like a thriller, psycho freaking movie. And my dad takes his shirt off, wraps up my foot, puts me in the car, and we race like 100 miles an hour to a hospital that's probably an hour and a half away. Now, because it was so far away, and the whole side of my foot is cut, like the whole side, like it's like it cut my toe off, but the whole side of my foot is cut wide open. It's like a razor blade. If you cut yourself, you know how bad you bleed. but it's also gravity going down. Dude, I'm bleeding out. And so I remember when I got to the hospital, the doctor had grabbed me and I was like yellow. And my dad goes, or the doctor said to my dad, he said, hey, there's a good chance your son's going to die today because he's just bled out. Like, we're going to pump him full of blood. We're going to sew him up. But like, dude, your son has bled out. And there was blood everywhere. And I remember hearing that, but I remember my dad falling to his knees. My dad starts crying. Obviously, any parent to hear that your son could die, you're going to start bawling. This is the thing. We wait for something bad to happen. And I remember I go into surgery. I come out 6 hours later, and my dad is there waiting when I come out. And he said, hey, I'm never going to smoke again. And so he never did. That day he quit. So, so I always tell people, I'm like, man, like that's usually how life goes. Someone's got to lose someone before they straighten up.
Yeah. It took my grandmother, who was my hero, who died 2 years ago, died at 104 years old, for her to have breast cancer, for my mom to quit smoking. I mean, it's very hard to quit, right? I've never smoked. I would never smoke. It's disgusting to me as it is to you, but like you said, it takes a major near catastrophe or catastrophe to make a change.
Everyone has vices, right? I mean, honestly, and I'm not going to go up to now, but like one of my vices that I found out, about 5 or 6 years ago, being successful meant so much to me. Just doing well, proving everyone wrong, whoever doubted me in my whole life, that I almost destroyed my whole family working too hard. Again, you smoke, and I think that I have to work. I have to win. That's the only way I feel that deal. And, I changed that, but I was too one-dimensional back then. But my point is.
We'll go back to the smoking and growing up without money. You stole, speaking of smoking, a Marlboro raft, and you slept on the Marlboro raft as a kid. So tell us about that experience and why you did it. And do you ever think back today, now that you're super successful,
cracks me up.
Think back like, holy fuck, I slept on this raft?
Yeah, dude. I mean, no one was around. There was no parent supervision. I say this all the time. We were kids raised by kids. Like, I don't ever remember anyone being home. I don't know. Just kids were always there. We were always there. Our house, my dad bought a new home, right? Which was unreal. And we got, but there was no air conditioner in it. And so because there was no air conditioner, it's 120 degrees. It's in Oklahoma. It's like, it ended up becoming like an oven. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like a home with no air. You can only imagine after time, like it becomes, and then there was only guys. My dad had stepmoms coming in and out, here and there, but it was always dirty. It was just like, there was no manners. There was no, it was like I was raised like, it's just like, almost like in a Twilight Zone, if I look back at it now. But so me and my brothers look around and there's fiddlebacks all in our house. And obviously in Oklahoma, brown recluse, black widows, fiddlebacks, they're very, very poisonous.
What's a fiddleback, by the way?
A fiddleback has a back that looks like a fiddle. It's called a brown lacrosse, I think is what it is. And we show a picture of it. And if they bite you, good chance most people die. We had them everywhere in our house. I would be sleeping and I would be like, and I'm like, oh, spider. And I just remember one night, like I kept killing spiders on me. And do the whole house. I mean, what are you going to do? Say, Dad, we need to spray the house? I mean, I don't even understand what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? But me and my brother were like, we're going to go sleep in the pool. And so there was this is hilarious. There was, and by the way, we had this little tiny raft, but we remembered down the road at the 7-Eleven, the Circle K, whatever, they had this huge Marlboro raft, right? And we literally stole it and ran out of the store with it just so we could sleep on it. And so we did. I mean, I was probably in 5th grade, something like that, 6th grade. And so he was probably in 3rd grade. And so we grabbed it, ran home about a mile, and then we put it in. We had this lagoon-looking green, nasty algae pool, which we swam in every day because we didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's just like swimming in a pond. In Oklahoma, you just swim in ponds. It's a pond in our backyard. And we literally put the raft in the middle of that thing, and we slept on it every night. Just every night, slept under the stars. It's
like a waterbed almost.
Yeah, it's like a waterbed. And
Marlboro raft,
we woke
waterbed.
up sweating. But it was cool, man. All summer long, we slept on that raft. Didn't even think twice about it.
During our childhood, we all have a crush on people throughout our lives, and they have big impacts on our life. And I remember there was a girl named Jill Blade in kindergarten. I had the biggest crush on her, and I don't even remember what I did, but in the 6th grade, you were not in the best shape of your life. At some point, you had what I think you said, chunky boobs.
Yeah, I was a little chunky kid.
Cellulite.
I had like cellulite all over my stomach. My family. I'm really big into fitness now, and my family is like 300 to 400 pounds. Even 5. Some of them are all big, all stomach surgeries, all very big people. And so I know what happens if I don't take care of myself. And as a kid, I was a very, very chunky kid. And, I didn't really know because everyone else is, like when you were brought up, like no one was in fitness and all that stuff in my family. And so.
And there's a girl that comes in the equation in a talent show.
We start to like girls. Yeah. You start to like girls. And in 6th grade, I liked this girl. Her name was Jennifer. And I remember she did this talent show deal. And I swear she looked like she was a senior in high school. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in 6th grade. This girl's amazing. And that was my first, I like girls, but that was like my first, oh my God, I love her. Like, I need her. I have to have that girl. And I walked up and I was like, hey, will you go out with me? And she's like, yes, do the little paper deal, the note pass, we whatever. And anyways, for a week, she was my girlfriend. And I remember, dude, I never felt so special in my life. She was definitely the hottest girl in the school by far. And I wasn't popular. I was always poor. I was wearing the same 2 pair of clothes every day. I knew that, she was like way above me, right? But I had the courage to ask. I got it. And then one day she just walks up and she says, hey, I'm going to break up with you and I'm going to go out with this guy. What's funny is this guy today is very fat. He's out of shape. And he's an alcoholic. It's so crazy how underdogs come up and things switch. Ugly girls become hot when they get older. Hot girls get ugly when they're old. It's so weird how things can switch and change through life. But I just a story told at that time, I was a big chunky kid. I was very insecure. But I asked a question. It was a very good question. I said, why are you breaking up with me? And she said, because he has a 6-pack. And, you've seen all my 6-pack, you're fired, and the things that I've gotten triggered by in my life. And I asked her, what is that? And she showed me. And this kid had abs, and he's in 6th grade. And I'm like, well, I want abs. And I was a long ways away from getting abs. And I went psycho, brother. That was my first sign of recreation, total recreation, being reborn, reinventing yourself. You've done it as a man many times through your life. Women do it, men do it. Anybody does it before they're going to get a breakthrough. And I recreated. I ran around my neighborhood every day for about 4 months. I ran every day. I ran. I did sit-ups all day long. I did push-ups, and I didn't see my body changing. I couldn't see it. But I had so much pain from the rejection feeling that I felt from that girl that I looked up, and after 4 months, dude, I was shredded. I mean, I'll give you a picture. We can put it up here, but I had an 8-pack. I was shredded. I was lean going into the 7th grade, and I was after revenge, dude. I wanted to burn her eyes out.
In 7th grade, I'd come home crying every day. Stuttered like you. I want to talk about that. Big time stutter. I mean, I went through speech therapy, and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but I used to come home crying every day from school. I felt like a loser, people making fun of me. It was brutal. And my mom would say back then as well, the cool kids today are not going to be the cool kids tomorrow. You're going to be a successful, and you look back one day and you look at all these other kids, and it's gonna be a little bit flipped. And of course,
it's hard to believe that back then.
Yeah, it was impossible. I mean, you can't see it even till the next day. But tell us about stuttering for you and how you got through it, and at what point did it start, and at what point did it end?
Well, I stuttered my whole life. I mean, I remember just trying to say what. I would be like, whoa. And I remember they used to make me try to have to give like your class essay or whatever. And I just hated that, man. My face got so red. I couldn't talk because obviously I stuttered. So I was like super insecure, right? It was very embarrassing, but you had to do it. And I just hated it, man. I hated it. I hated the way I thought about myself. Getting in shape, honestly, was the first time in my life I ever felt confident. Like at that time I was like, dude, I can do, I believed in me. And no one else had to believe in me. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that anyone even believed in me. But me getting in shape, I remember I started getting in better shape than everybody else, and I didn't even play a sport. I became addicted to this running and sports and all this stuff. And he said, what does that have to do with stuttering? At that time, I wanted to start liking girls, but I couldn't beat that stutter. And I
What age are we talking here?
7th, 8th grade, I didn't beat it until I got into sales at 18. I didn't beat stuttering altogether. And how I beat it was actually pretty neat, and anybody can beat it like this. I started learning and developing word tracks. So someone would say like, I need to think about it. And I would be like, I don't know what to say. And then my manager would say, well, this is what you say when someone says that. And I would learn it verbatim exactly how he told me to say it. And I would have to write it down like 20 times on a piece of paper. And then I would say it like 100 times. And then I would say it with the tonality that he used. And I just like said it. And I think that learning those word tracks allowed me to think about what I was going to say before I even said it. And then I was like, dude, my brain started to jump ahead even faster than my words and started to correct myself. And then if I started to feel like I was going to stutter, I could actually pause like with like tonality, and no one would even know that I was about to stutter, and I could trick everyone. And I started to learn me. I think the hardest thing in this world is to learn yourself. That's the hardest thing. And no one ever does this. People go through it their whole life and they never go down the journey of learning themselves. I learned myself when I got a 6-pack in 7th grade. I learned myself at 18 when I got into sales. And then I learned myself at 39 years old when my wife said she learned to live without me. 3 major recreations that I can fully remember. Probably many versions at many different times, but for sure 3 times that I can completely remember transforming and changing everything.
I mean, you mentioned your face getting all right. I have nightmares, but now they're good mares because it helps motivate you, who you are. But I remember my English teacher, Gus Seeger, pulling me aside. This was in ninth or 10th grade, and he said, you don't have to give the speech if you don't want to, because everyone was going to laugh. I mean, it's awkward laughter. You're bullied anyway. I wasn't a cool kid. And I just remember the pain and suffering from all that. And I had to learn a new way to speak. I practiced a new way of speaking 1 hour every night. And I remember riding in the car with my speech therapist. To McDonald's. Pulling up to the window and being able to order a hamburger for the first time. It's like, fuck yeah. And then, you build on it, and, that pain motivates you to do better and to work harder. And, here I am today, and, I made that look back at all the kids who made fun of me, and, man, we're living different lives.
So crazy, man. So crazy to even remember that. I mean, you don't ever forget it, but it's like going back to that.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like another human.
Yeah. And you know what? I gave that speech, and I did it, and everyone made fun of me, and I knew it was coming, and you took it. I took it. Yeah. It helped me make me who I am today.
That's so crazy, man. I feel sorry for anybody that doesn't have to go.
Yeah.
Through this kind of pain. I always say what people don't have as a kid, they crave as an adult.
Yeah.
Right? And I always wanted to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
Communicate, inspire, that stuff wasn't even in the cards, right?
Yeah.
But it shows how resilient that humans are.
Yeah.
And how much people can change.
Yeah, I remember going to group therapy. Eventually my speech was getting better, and my speech therapist would have this group on Thursday nights, and we'd sit around for 2 hours, and my speech was getting a lot better, and I think 6 of the 8 people just couldn't even speak. I mean, they couldn't get past the and you could see their face, and you're in a group of people like that, and no one's flinching, no one's laughing, and it makes you feel like you're part of the tribe, for lack of a better word, part of the group. And I think that group, being around similar situated people, and made everybody better. Dude,
I got a guy that works for me in my media department, and he stutters, right?
What do you tell him?
Well, every time, if he'd be like, what? I'm like, stop. Say what? And he'll say, I'm saying, say what? We're not going to go until we do this. Me and him, we go all, and he says, what? And I say, all right, say it again. What? Say it again. What? Say it again. What? All right, now go. All right, what should we do? There you go. That's it. That's it.
Is it working for him?
Yeah.
Is he going to speech therapy outside?
No. Just every day I talk to him, I just stop him. And I'm like, bro, like, we're not in a hurry. Like, I got you. Like, we're going to roll through this. And I promised him, I said, dude, you're not going to stutter anymore when you're done. Like, we'll beat it together. 100% sure. But there's extreme cases of stuttering, and there's certain words. The W was a big one for me. And even to today, like, I get up, I can speak super fast. Like, so fast people can't even understand me. Like, I can just, whoom, and I won't stutter at all. But I know even 3 sentences before I'm about to stutter, I can smell it coming.
I got it.
Do you know what I mean?
I got it.
Like, you can feel
the
like
vowels for me are, the A's.
But you know when it's
words.
coming. It's like almost knowing that, like, if you had Tourette's,
right?
That you were going to like Tourette. It's like I can see it, and I'll change the patterns and the thoughts in my head, and I'll go a different way.
I mean, when I landed the show today, I was like, fuck, I got Andy Elliott. How am I going to get the A down there? I was worried about it the whole time. I didn't even tell my wife. I was sitting there.
Yeah, I was
sitting there on the plane, like, Andy Elliott. I got to think I'm going to get the name out, Andy Elliott, and not stutter on that word.
But hey, just like that.
And by the way, I'm nervous. Like, I've tried to add you on my show now. I'm so excited. Thanks for being here. And
yeah,
it's like,
you bet, man.
It's like a year, and am I going to start out stuttering and I can't say his name?
No, I got it. Listen, that's why I told you, like, I will literally be talking and speaking, and I'm on stage or anywhere, and I can smell. I know me so good. The art of learning yourself, no one does it.
Yeah.
No one does it. They learn their businesses, they learn things, but they don't learn themselves. And when you go down the journey of learning yourself, you become very, very dangerous. You can fix anyone if you can fix yourself. You become one of the most unbelievable, transformational people in the world because you can just change anyone. Inside what's going on in your head, you're in the mechanics of fixing your business. How you scaled and growed businesses bigger than most people could ever even imagine or fathom. Why? Because you can see, it's a superpower to be able to see around corners in business. Just be around seeing around corners. See the unseen. You can see it. And I can see where I'm going to make a mistake. Even in sales, I could see where I was going to get trapped here, and I would pivot around there. And, it was just, I knew myself so well, I could even smell other people when they were going to box me or trap me. And it's just crazy. It's always going on in my head. It's just like, I got ADD, ADHD, blah, 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 whatever. It's like having 50 computer screens open in my head at one time. I just see all of them. I see all these conversations, but I can smell when I'm getting tied to a word. And everybody struggles with something, but like, this is our thing. And it makes you not value yourself very well.
Well, when you're young, you don't even know how to handle it, right? And back then, kids are different than today. You get suspended or kicked out of school if you're bullying somebody, right? Back then, it was like, all right, man, don't do that, and I'll stop. And then they do it anyway. No one got in trouble for it.
Yeah, you got punched in the face. Who cares? Now you get punched in the face. It's like, I told my kid, my son's 14, and I was explaining to him when we grew up that they paddled the hell out of you. And my son's like, what? And I said, listen, let me explain this to you. Your teacher calls me, right? Back when I went to school, we didn't get a phone call. The teacher called the principal wore you out with a paddle with holes in it. And your parents signed a permission slip saying if my kid steps out of line, swat him. Like, I'm like, bro, do you know how easy you have it? You guys think you have it hard? Are you kidding me? I mean, we had it crazy. I remember I got beat every day.
So let's go back to high school. You never went to class. You cheated. You got D's. And then tell us about the F5 tornado that blew everything out and let you graduate.
Yeah. So, not having a leader, right? And back then I would say not having a parent home, or we could say even no one even wanting to invest in. Usually, listen, my wife is such a good mom. If we had a kid that didn't have a good mom or a good dad, my mom or my wife, I call her my mom because she's like my mom, but she'll step in and take care of that kid. And you see like good, like strong women, like good men. If a kid's lost, if they want to be a good kid, you'll see parents step in and help kids, right? Dude, no one ever stepped in for me. Like, so like not going to school, like who cares? Making bad grades, who cares? Report cards, who cares? No one even reviewed them. I signed my dad's name on everything. Who cares? There was no good, there was no bad, there was no reinforcement for good or bad. So it's just like whatever, right? I didn't have a curfew since second grade. I never went home. No one asked. It's just like I said, when I say Jerry Springer, I mean, I'm like laughing. And like, because like when I watch Jerry Springer, people are like, I can't believe that. I'm like, that was my life every day. Like it was always something crazy. And so again, I was talking about tornadoes always happening in Oklahoma, Oklahoma, which is where we lived. May 5th, the biggest, or May 3rd tornado, 1999, biggest tornado in the history of the world. It's May 3rd, 1999. The movie The Twister was made around this movie.
That movie, by the way, gave me nightmares, and I'm afraid of sharks and tornadoes.
Yeah, but I was in that video though.
Yeah.
I chased that video in my truck with my dad, my $400 truck. Me and my dad chased it. We were sitting on top of our roof, right? And the tornado's coming in. It's 5-6 miles wide. And it's like, okay, everything's going out. So and they were like, and the guy's yelling at the time, the news guy, he's like, get underground or you're dead. And you can tell the guy's like flipping out. And we've seen like people flip out. Like, by the way, we're so dumb. My dad didn't have a damn storm shelter. So what do? We get in the truck and my dad's like, we'll just drive around the back street. We're good. We'll go around it. I have no idea, but we made it around it and we came in right behind it. And sure enough, our house was flattened. I mean, when I say flattened, I mean, everything was flattened, like completely flattened, gone all the way through our high school. So if you had passing grades during this tornado, right? Because it's like an act of God, war, whatever they called that area. If you were in it when it happened, you just got to graduate because it was May 3rd and that was graduation time. So you didn't have to take your semester test or whatever. I had like 60s on everything. So I'm not Fs, I'm 60s. And you can roll right across that stage with Ds. So I graduated. I have no idea I didn't have Fs, but I had Ds. So I graduated. I don't remember ever even walking. I think they mailed it to me because I didn't show up. But the main deal is I graduated. Now I had to get a job. And I remember I worked construction. Since the whole town was just destroyed, I got into construction for 30 days. And I worked 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. And I was like, dude, this sucks.
What's with people who chase tornadoes, especially an F5 tornado that killed hundreds of people? It's sort of like, isn't that the same thing as jumping into the ocean where there's a school of great white sharks there?
Leaderless.
Do you have a death wish to go do that?
Well, you know what's crazy is I didn't even think that people would die. Like I'm like unaware. Like one of the most, they say
that thing is so loud though, isn't it?
It was super loud. It was like
Deafening.
a train. It was like a train running through everything. But like ignorance, right? Like you got to remember, man, if no one ever said what's good, what's bad, dude, my dad we never went to church. There's no like community we plugged into. It was whoever was on the streets was in the streets. I would go from getting jumped into a gang one week to the next week trying to figure out how to, dude, I was like that stray kid running around. And that's why I told my wife, I said, I'm surprised no one ever took me in. Right? At some point, there was a lot of kids, one of those mothers. Mothers are normally the ones that are like, that kid, come here. You're going to be a good kid. Come with me. No one ever took me in. And so that's why when I met my wife, I was like, oh yeah, like she was the only person that like took care of me.
You did construction for a month. You were cleaning up the tornado, $200 a day.
Yeah, $200 a week.
$200 a week, so $200 a week.
Yeah.
Tell us about the day you were at your best friend's house and you meet his older brother, and then tell us about a lay down and what that is and what happened from that point on.
Yeah, so sales changed my whole life. It's crazy. Like no one ever knows what they're going to end up doing in the end, right? And so I always tell people, they're like, oh, I would never do that. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea what your future like, how it's going to play out. But I did the construction deal, and obviously I just wanted to make money, which is what people did when they graduated. And my oldest brother, or my best friend's older brother, said something that was very intriguing to me. And I never heard anyone talk like this in my life. I've never held more than $5 in my hand, not at one point in my life. So we were sitting there and he said, man, dude, he goes, Andy, you got to come sell for me. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got to come sell cars. He's like, dude, if you can get good, you can make $5,000 a month. As I'm hearing him say these words, $5,000 a month, I'm like, guy's a liar. Like that doesn't even exist. Like, I'm like, so like, if I would have seen 1,000, like I wouldn't even, my dad bought a truck when I was 16 years old with $400 cash. And I remember asking my dad for months, where'd you get that much money? Like, I don't understand the concept of of cash, of money. It's just that we didn't have any. And I knew that for sure. And when he said $5,000 a month, I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I was like, I would do anything for an opportunity to do anything. And by the way, I hated construction, but I would have kept doing it because there was zero choice for me. Okay. And so sales was my way out. My first job, my first day on the job, I remember walking into the dealership. By the way, so his dad was a general manager of a Mercedes-Benz store. His father had passed away with cancer. He was a very good man in the business. And his son was 23 years old and was the used car manager of a Nissan store. And so he was way smaller than me, right? And so I was a little bit bigger of a kid, and his dad was bigger than him, so he said I could wear his dad's clothes. So I remember putting his dad's clothes on, and they didn't fit me either. So I showed up, and I'm like in high waters to here, but not like in a cool way. And like, it's like I don't belong. I mean, you can clearly tell, like, I'm a kid trying to show up for work, first day, look stupid, bleach blonde hair, earring, and he was like, hey, take your earring out. You know what I mean? And I remember I did that. And he said, hey, I'm going to have a sales meeting. Go sit out on the porch, which is like the front of the dealership. And he said, if somebody pulls up, just tell them we're in a meeting. Somebody will be out with them in a minute. And I remember that was my instructions. I go outside. Remember, I stutter at this point still. This is how cool sales is. This is why I tell everyone, I'm like, dude, sales is like the free enterprise system. Like, everybody, it's your way out. Automotive, whatever, any industry, I don't even care. You learn to sell, you're going to get rich if you get good at it, and everyone can become great at it. But I go outside. There was this old man that pulled up, and I remember that he said, "Hey," it was just like this. He said, "Hey, I want to look at that truck," and I was like, "Okay," and I walked over there, and I didn't know what I was doing, and he pointed at the window, and he's like, "Go get this number right here." Clearly, the guy's bought a lot of cars in his life. I told him my first day, I have no idea what I'm doing. They're in a meeting. He's like, just go get this key. And so like he like told me what to do. I go inside and I say, hey, I need this key. I go back. The guy, one of the kids gives it to me out of the key machine. I go back out. Guy gets in the car. He says, jump in. Let's go drive it. And I remember I talked to this guy for about 20 minutes.
You drove with this guy?
Uh-huh. And I didn't really know what we were doing, but like I just went on a ride. But he was cool, man. This is like and I remember he was like my grandpa. My grandpa was really cool. And my grandpa's a great man. He told me, he said, I remember I told him, I said, hey, you remind me of my grandpa, my pop. He's a great man. Like, you remind me of him. And he was like, that's awesome. Me and him kind of bonded in that car drive. And I guess that was building rapport. At that point, I really understand what's going on. I pull up. As soon as I pull up in front of the dealership where he pulls up, he gets out. A salesman walks out and goes, hey, it's want you know, it's Andy's first day. So I'm going to help him out from here. And the guy cuts him off and goes, hey, I like him. So I'm going to let him sell me the truck. I don't need you. Okay. So I'm good. Like, I've bought in a lot of cars before, so I'm going to stick with him. We're good. And I'm like, damn, I'm going to get fired on my first day. Right. Because I don't really understand what's going on, but they're trying to get me a veteran sales guy. Right. And so I go inside and I tell my best friend's older brother that this guy out here, like, he likes this truck and he wants to buy it, but he won't talk to this guy. And he said, just sit him down on a piece of paper, have him fill out this credit app, have him fill out this thing. Let's see if he can buy something or not. And so that's what I did. I sat down, guy filled it out. I remember I go back to my manager. My manager goes, this guy's gold. And I'm like, oh, well, gold's got to be good, right? And he's like, I want you to go fill this out. Ask him how he wants his car titled, and then we'll go from there. As I go and he's filling it out, this other salesman comes back in and goes, hey, sir, I'll kind of help you out at this point. And the guy goes, if I have to say this again, I'm going to get up and leave. And I'm like, man, dude, like me and this guy are cool, but like we weren't that cool. But like I had built rapport with him. And I think the guy liked me. And I think because he knew it was my first day, he was like being, like he was protecting me, right? Like maybe he was like, like you show someone love. Like God brought this guy to show me some love, man, because it was my first sale. But I call it a lay down because the guy didn't really give me a hard time. He was nice to me. He was kind to me. He didn't beat me up. And I really didn't act like I knew it all either. I didn't know anything. I was just trying to serve him or help him or whatever it is I was even doing. Anyways, I take that piece of paper I filled out. My manager goes, all right, Andy, go ask him if he wants to do option A or option B. A is this, B is this. And he basically put some terms that the truck would be. I have no idea what he even wrote down on this piece of paper, but I go inside and I'm like, option A, option B. He said, my manager said, just sign next to which one you want. And so let's act like you're my customer. And he goes, and he looked at me with this look. He goes, what's the interest rate? And I was like, the interstate? He's like, the interest rate. And I'm like, the interstate? And he's like, I mean, I had no idea what he was even talking about. How would I know what an interest rate was? I don't know money. I don't know nothing. I know nothing. I just remember that weird silence. And then he goes, I'll do B. It's fine, man. And I just got up and I walked back to my manager and I go, he'll do option B. I don't understand any of this. I thought about it later and I'm just a dumb kid. And the guy was being nice to me. And long story short, my manager goes, no ways. And I'm like, yeah, he said, I'll do B. He's like, get this truck back to the detail department now. And dude, everybody starts moving real quick. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And so anyways, I rush this guy back to finance. He goes back there, signs his paper. The place in the back washed the car. I pulled it around. He comes out, gets the keys, drives off. My manager pages me to the tower. And he goes, Andy, do you know how much money you just made? And this is 1999. He goes, you just made $1,700. And I remember I was like, dude, because he asked me and I said, no, I was like, if I just made enough money to go eat a Subway sandwich, like I'm starving. I'm eating all day long. It's about 7 p.m. at night. And he's like, you just made $1,700. He goes, let me tell you something. Payroll's tomorrow morning. So you're going to get $1,700 check tomorrow morning. That's cool. Plus you won high gross of the month, Andy. You hit the highest gross of the whole month. I'm like, what does that mean? High gross of the month. He's like, you hit the biggest gross of all month in our dealership, your very first car deal. And that's going to give you $500 cash in the morning. So the next morning they hand me $1,700, $500 cash in my hand. And I was like, dude, I'm going to become the most deadliest salesperson they've ever seen. All these people, I'm going to crush all of them. And that was my way out. Like that day, I knew that like sales was my way out. Now I could have ended up in any industry, but the fact that I ended up in the automotive industry, I stayed from 18 years old all the way till I was 39. And then, I mean, I was in the industry my whole life. And then that's when I quit and I started my coaching company afterwards.
The manager, when you started, gave you 2 pieces of great advice. What were they?
My manager?
Yeah, but when you first started.
Oh, well, when I first started, the first one is number one, he made me practice shaking his hand every day. Every day. And this is funny because everybody laughed at me for this. Everyone laughed at me. I was the only one that made it through this. There was 10 of us. And he goes, everybody look to the left, look to the right. 9 of you won't be here in 6 months. 1 of you will. And he goes, every day we practice shaking hands. Every day. Look at me in the eye. Andy, shake my hand. How you doing? Andy, shake my hand. How you doing? Andy, hold your hand sideways like this, not like that, like this. Come in, shake my hand. I want you to head nod. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Pull me in a little bit. Do that again. Ready? Do it again. 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 And dude, people be like, dude, I'm sick of this. I'm not going to sit here and shake hands. He would take me to the mall and literally make me walk around and shake 100 people's hands. He's like, dude, I don't need anything from you. I just want to say hi. How you doing? How's your day going? He made me beat my stutter by saying it over and over again, but also he made me look at people in the eye, shake hands, and talk to somebody, which I didn't know until later in life how invaluable that this would be. And then a second thing is that he said every time someone says no, right? Like there's an objection or whatever, he's like, you need to learn, most people are professional wingers. They're amateurs. They don't know what to say. And so like if somebody came up and they punched you, right? If they came up again, what would you do? You would duck. You would start to understand what's happening. And that's a cycle, right? That's a pattern. And salespeople are dumb because what they do is they have a cycle and a pattern of an objection that keeps going on. Instead of figuring out how to overcome it, they just keep getting hit with it. And he goes, I want you to learn how anytime, any place, anywhere on the phone or in person, if somebody says no, I want you to figure out how to turn them around and get them to say yes. Not just by being great at objections, but also by pulling their shoulders down and getting them to relax. And he told me, he said, no matter what happens, no matter how somebody gets heated or mad or whatever, always stay calm. No matter what, you can bring anyone down. And so those are 2 pieces of great advice with the objection handling deal and controlling my state and making sure I knew what to say, and then also shaking hands and looking people in the eyes.
At some point as well, at the beginning of your career, you got the advice, be nice to people.
Yes.
And be on time. You'll be 99% of the other people. How on earth can it be that simple to be 99% of the people by just being nice to people and showing up on time?
Dude, I showed up every morning at 7 a.m. He would pick me up. I would open the gates. And then I would ride home at 11 o'clock at night with him because I didn't have a car. And I had a lawn chair. I don't know if you ever heard my lawn chair story, but I used to have a lawn chair, right? Remember the plastic lawn chairs when we grew up? They had the bars and they had the plastic.
Yeah, the plastic,
They had the
plaid,
yellow.
whatever they are.
Yes, they had like yellow, the white, the whatever.
Yeah, they were like rubber bands almost.
And they would click when you would open them, right?
Yeah.
Well, so I had a bunch of those in my garage. And I thought, dude, there's only one way into this dealership. There's one way out. And so I put a lawn chair in the middle of the drive. And I would sit there on the drive like this. Dude, all the guys are standing there and I'm sitting here like this. And then anytime somebody would pull in, I would literally, hey, how you doing? My name's Andy Elliott. Are you here for sales, right? Are you here for service? For service, how you doing? Hey, my name's Andy. Here's my card. When you're going to go over here, parts are expensive. Sometimes labor is expensive. If for some reason it's an expensive bill and you just want to trade it in, there's a lot of times we can give you more money than what it's worth. I'd love to help you with that. Shoot me a text, call me. I'll walk right over here. I'll meet you. Let me walk you over and introduce you to Lisa. She's in the service advisor. Or I'd walk up here and I would have to hand walk. I would put my hand on the car and I would hand walk backwards as I'm talking to them to the parking space because they hated me so bad at the store. I mean, I went to selling 70 to 80 cars a month. Average car salesman sells 6 to 8 cars a month. I was in total annihilation. I am an extremist like you. Like when you did business and you went crazy, people were like, when's enough enough? I was so obsessed. I wanted to be the best in the world, not the best in my store, not the best in the state, but the best in the world. And I love that everybody was doubting me. That was the only thing that kept me going. And the only time someone ever believed in me was when my wife showed up at 26. But I'm telling you, like that was like my secret superpower. But that was it. I used a lawn chair in the gate. And every time I would walk a car in, they'd grab my lawn chair and throw it in the creek. And I would just bring another one because broke people have hundreds of lawn chairs.
At some point, no one teaches you what you're doing, right? You go in and you look at something, you want to be the best that you can be. When we watch other people do and how they become successful. You look at their eye contact. You mentioned how they shake hands. Most people don't know there's 14 different kinds of handshakes.
Yes.
You know, there's the...
I don't even know that, but I believe it.
There's the sweaty... I mean, there's so many crazy ways to shake your hand. You got the bone crusher handshake and you got the wet fish, and there's nothing worse than the sweaty palm handshake. If you know you got sweaty palms, go dry them off. Go do something, but because it's the most disgusting thing in the world when someone is shaking your hands. But you're watching how people speak, their mannerisms, their eye contact, their postures. You studied and you read. How important was that, watching other people to the amazing success you've had today?
It's everything. I love studying. I'm a people watcher. I love watching people. They teach me who I want to be, and they teach me who I don't want to be. I think God made losers. People are not going to understand this, but he made losers so I can understand if I don't get my crap together, what my life's going to look like. I can see what my life will look like if I don't straighten up or if I don't get better, if I don't practice. And then he makes winners and he makes comeback kids, people that come back, like we're comeback kids, people that come back. And that's why, you know, I love the comeback kid stories. But I love watching people. I love watching, if I'm sitting there, like I love my wife to death. I'm like psycho obsessed with my wife. Like she's everything. She is my rock. She's my battle mate. She's the one I go to war with every day. I love her to death. If I watch a man and he's being affectionate with his wife, I will immediately emulate anything that I can see that I feel like is better than what I'm doing. I don't compare. I'm just like, thank you, I owe you. And I'm like, boom. If I see a guy and he's walking with his son and, you know, like he's got his son on his shoulders and he's getting like a piggyback ride and I'm just holding my son's hand, I'm like, no ways, I'm gonna get my kid a piggyback ride too. Boom. Like I want to level up. So anything that I see that can take me to another level, I just emulate. Like modeling proven practices. And the fact that me and you grew up reading books, listening to cassette tapes or whatever that we were doing, DVDs and, you know, all that stuff at that time, you know, like, dude, the fact that, you know, we can train and learn the way we can train and learn now, like I used to just only be able to watch the people that like were in my city, you know, or my store. But the world now, you can see.
You have this amazing epiphany, right? You made $1,700, $500 on your first day of work. You're killing it. You made $150,000 that year. Then you came home one day and you said, Dad, I need help with my taxes. And tell us about what happened next and what's your advice to people who are young and make money and what they should be doing with their money? Maybe you can go through your story on that.
Well, number one, money is all an identity thing. Who you think you are is what you'll earn. You can't earn amount of money that you don't think that you're worth, right? And I know that you know this. Like you'll never out-earn your own self-worth. You never will. And I learned that how much someone can make is just a label in your head. And once you label it, you're filling out your head. Like the chokehold of every income is the individual. It's not the company. It's not anything. It's always the individual. Now there could be things that play into that, but it's always here, right? And so at 18 years old, I made 125 grand my first year. I had a pay stub or a whatever W-2, right? And I go home and I show it to my dad. And my dad, who was a chemist or worked for Kerr McGee or did something, and he had worked there for like 30 or 40 years, and he made 60 grand a year, like towards his end of his retirement. And I remember he looked at me and he was like, "Dude, I can't believe you're making that much money." And I'm like, "Well, number one," he was like, "You owe me rent," right? And then I was like, "Okay, I'm moving out." Because like I was ready to get the hell out of there anyways. I needed a reason to get the hell out of there. I was at work all the time anyways.
You're 18 years old at this point.
Yeah, I was 18 to 19. That first year from 18 to 19, made 125. I will tell you, the reason why I made 125 is because my manager told me that the most anyone could make in our industry was 125,000. And so my first year, anyone could make was 125 grand. And by the way, he was my manager. Social media didn't exist. I mean, so everything my manager told me was everything that was possible, right? You remember when you were younger. I mean, what you learned from your circle was what you learned. There was a new manager that came in, and I remember he was from Georgia because he said, and remember the glove boxes, like we used to put stuff in our glove boxes back in the day. He said, "Man, Andy, you can make 250 grand or whatever, 220 grand selling cars." And I was like, "Impossible." I'm like, "Nope." And that Wolf on Wall Street, like, "Show me your pay stub. I'll quit my job right now and come work for you." And he shows him his pay stub, and the guy quits. He said, "Come with me in my car." Pulls out his pay stub out of his glove box and shows me a pay stub of like $220,000. And I remember going, well, number one, I've been lied to, because that year to date just showed me what I needed to see. Something kicked in immediately in me that made me push. And from 19 to 20, I would hit $220,000. I would make another 100 grand, break all the records in my store, do this thing. And I realized, man, it's always been this way in my life, no matter what situation, money, marriage, being a father, being in shape, whatever I think can happen, happens. And I know that everybody hears that, and it really sounds overrated, but it is really the truth. It is the truth. It's a secret. It's a law of attraction. Every successful person ends up sharing this at the end of their life, that until I took ownership that this could happen, it never happened for me. And so the sooner that I think that anybody watching this that younger, there is no bars, no limits. Your mind isn't your friend. It's not your friend. You've been programmed since you were born, the things you see, the relationships you went through, the pain you went through, to believe that you're only worth X, or you can only do X, or you're only as cool as, or no one believes in you. And you have guilt, you have shame, you have embarrassment, you have all these things. And that only comes from the devil, who's the father of lies. And he's really good at telling us we can't do stuff, right? And long story short, I would tell myself these stories, what's possible. And at that point, this is where I broke into like what's possible. I made 500 grand that next year selling cars. And I just became obsessed at that point with being a renegade. Now I'm in the automotive industry, and that was a lot of money for selling cars, I think I ended up making, like, most I ever made selling cars was like 716 grand. And then I moved up into management, which was a demotion.
So tell us about the self-development you did in terms of how you got to where you got to be the best salesperson, maybe in the state, in your dealership. What kind of self-development did you do? And what's your advice to everyone out there today who's listening to this and say, gosh, I'm a salesperson for Oracle or some software company, or selling furniture, who says, all right, this is the most I think I'm going to make. This is what I hear. How can I improve myself? What can I do to do it the Andy Elliott way?
Well, number one, I want to tell everybody something real quick. And when I was in the automotive space, number one, the transportation space is huge. So I'm going to talk about any industry here, but the transportation space is big. For some reason, when people said I'm a car salesman, they were really embarrassed by it. I don't know why, but I was never embarrassed. Like, I don't understand. Like, people.
The reason is, by the way, is because most people think they're sleazy. And they've had bad experiences buying cars.
Well, the truth is that they have. But for me, I saw that as an upside. Because if I could be the best and be really good in an industry where everybody else is poor, then I'm going to capitalize. Like I'm going to crush it. Remember, it's all perspective, right? So if I could tell anybody anything, it's like you can walk into work and you could say, oh my God, I see everything that's wrong. Or you can walk into work and be like, I can't believe I have this opportunity. You can walk into your home right now and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to get married. I'm married to my wife. Like, oh my God, like I'm the luckiest man ever. You can walk in and be like, dude, she's a nag. I mean, whatever you think is what you see. Okay. And so my deal is that I remember I was in an event with Zig Ziglar, and when he was alive, it was back in like maybe 2002, 2003, maybe even Grant Cardone was there. This is a long, long time ago. And I remember they asked something. They said, hey, who in here wants to make a lot of money? And everybody, there was like 500 people in this like seminar, right? And funny thing is, it's funny. So this is super important. When I invested, I spent money on myself. You know what my manager said? He goes, you're an idiot, dude. I spent $2,000 to go to a seminar back in like 2002. And I just remember, he goes, dude, I could have taught you what they're going to teach you. I could have taught you. Just pay me, dude. But I was like, dude, I've been working for this guy for a couple of years. And he taught me nothing. You know what I mean? But I wanted to learn from these guys. And I was listening to their cassette tapes, right? And so they were coming in town. So I wanted to listen to them. But I remember they said, who wants to make more money? 500 people all raised up and was like, hell yeah, I want to make more money. And then they asked another question. They said, because we were all automotive salespeople. It was for the car business. And by the way, like now I train all industries, but back then that was my niche. Guess what? He said, who in here is proud to be a car salesman? I remember standing up and I was like, yeah, that's me. And no one else said it. I remember my buddies, right, that sold cars with me. They would go to a party and one of them was like a chiropractor. One of them was a doctor. And then the ones that were car salesmen were embarrassed. They wouldn't tell anybody. And I was like, dude, this is stupid. The reason why I thrived in the car business was because I loved it. I mean, look, I didn't have good leadership. Honestly, I did a lot of stupid stuff. I made a lot of wrong mistakes. I almost went to jail at certain times. I ran around the wrong people. But the automotive industry, the places that I worked, there's a lot of good car dealerships. But the places that I worked were the worst places. Worse leaders, worse owners, crap. And if you're around crap, you're going to become crap. And so, being in Oklahoma, I never had been out of Oklahoma ever my whole life until my wife moved me here when I was 40 years old.
So let's talk about the controversy and some of the bad decisions you made. You were general manager. There were 2 car dealerships, and then people were coming in without down payments. And basically the dealership, which you were a part of, was committing fraud, essentially. Tell us about King Cash and the whole experience. And you've called it, why is it that some of the dumbest things we do lead to the best experiences in our entire lives?
Well, so I'm 45 years old. I was raised by motivation from fear, okay? Not from love, okay? We live in a generation now where everybody needs to be loved on. Back then it was sell cars or you're fired. I mean, do you understand? It's just simple, bro. It's Randy. Sell cars or you're fired. How many cars do we sell? How many cars do we sell? How much money are we making? What kind of gross per copy are we running? How many customers did we close today? That was it. I mean, compliance, getting in trouble, black and white, gray. I mean, we weren't harming people, but there's loopholes in business that companies should train and teach people on. And so when I walked into this company, all these things were already going on. I didn't magically create this. I went into a company that already had a lot of bad practices. Now, it was a bad credit company, which means they advertise for bad credit. Like if you have bad credit, if you have a bankruptcy, if you don't have any money down, like you're approved. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. When you're a roofer, if I was to go to your house and a storm blew your roof off, and I said, hey, Randy, obviously your house qualifies for a new roof. You've had insurance for 20 years now. I'm going to go ahead and process your claim, make sure they put a 5-star roof on your house. Okay? Randy, it shows right here there's a $2,000 deductible that you have to pay to get your roof. I need that $2,000 so I can process your claim. Now, the insurance company is going to pay what they're going to pay. And the deductible comes to the roofing company. Does that make sense?
No.
Randy says, I don't have $2,000 for a deductible. Oh, okay. So what do we do, Randy? Do we walk away from your house and not put a roof on it because you don't have a deductible? Or do we fudge some of the paperwork somewhere and show that Randy put a deductible somewhere and then go get a $150,000 roof from the insurance company? What do you think's happening in the world right now with all the roofing companies around the whole world? There's probably 90% of the people in the world that aren't putting their deductible down on these homes for these roofs, but they're still getting roofs. Every business has a gray area, a loophole, an issue. Ours was, and I'm not justifying it, I'm explaining it so you can see. People came in, they had jobs, they had pay stubs, they had utility bills, they were good people, they rode the bus in, some of them had $100 beat up cars. They had a job, they could qualify for a car. Problem is they didn't have any damn money down. And so what happened is there was this thing in the company that already pre-existed before I started there, and it was called King Cash. And if somebody didn't have the down payment on a car, well, you would just coach them that, hey, if the bank calls you, say you put $1,000 down, and even though you didn't, you just say you put $1,000 down, they're going to give you the loan, you get a car today. And, as a 30-year-old kid who's been in the car business my whole life, I worked for a good credit store for 10 years of my life. I didn't, I don't really understand. I didn't even work payments out a lot. Most of the time they went to the finance office. So this was all new to me, but I was indoctrinated into this culture. And I'm not saying that I didn't think that we weren't like cutting corners or something to do loans, but I didn't think you could get in big trouble for stuff like this. I'd never been in trouble. And so when the owner, who was a bad person, by the way, that's what happened. He's a bad guy. There was probably a lot of companies doing it. But just there's a lot of roofing companies probably doing things like that. There's probably some that say, you know what, if you don't put the deductible down, we'll walk away and we just won't put a roof on your house. But then the next roofer coming behind you is going to take that deal. He's going to figure out how to handle that deductible. That was kind of like what happened every day. Nobody had any down. Dude, we were doing hundreds of them a month. I mean, it was just it was just a normal process, procedure, a part of business. And then, when they came in, it was at one point they got in trouble for it. And then there was a pawn shop deal kind of where we said they pawned something. It was there was a bad credit store. But, my wife, the biggest problem with all this is that my wife said this guy was a bad guy and I shouldn't work for him. This is where I made the biggest mistake. And every man should know this. Women have such an incredible intuition. And my wife, when she married me, she said she would always protect me. She said, you're a project. You believe in everybody. You think everybody is out to help you. And you always try to fix everyone. And you're an idiot. And one day it's going to get you. And I believe that this guy, I'd worked with him earlier in life. I believe that this guy had changed. He had been a good guy. He offered me a lot of money to really come run this store for him. And I thought he was a good guy. I thought he had changed. I thought, I just thought some stuff. And then basically all this happened. And, he said if I didn't lie, he was threatening to kill me. And, my wife said, I told you that guy. And funny thing is my wife warned me of this man for a long time and said, don't work with that guy. But because my wife, we started to have kids and, she's the mom now. Now I got to be the one that's the winner. And, I end up not listening to her. And honestly, her warning me, I was like, you're nagging me. Because I didn't want her to tell me I thought I knew the way. Well, it sounds like I didn't know the way. And, I almost went to jail. I told the truth. The truth will set you free. This is biblical. I wasn't very close to God at this time. I was a Christian, but I wasn't God wasn't number one. I just, believed in him. And, my wife said, it's very simple, Andy. The truth will set you free. I support you. I will back you. But under any circumstance, will you not lie? That's it. I'll be with you. I don't care what happens. If you go to jail and you're in jail for 5 years, I'll be there. But you're not going to lie. And I need you to promise me. That was a very hard time in our life, but I learned that you have to go through these very hard lessons, these nasty lessons. Before greatness, there's always some nasty storm. And I weathered it, and I didn't lie. And because I didn't lie, I didn't get in trouble. I ended up walking away. I always say God gives people second chances. He gave me 10,000. And so, that's part of my testimony of what can happen when you do the right thing.
Were you scared shitless when the FBI showed up at your door, started asking questions?
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Thinking about going to prison.
Dude,
terrible thing.
Every person will never understand, right, what that will feel like until it happens. I always say there's two things that'll change a man's life for sure. One, you get terminally ill. If you found out you were going to die today with cancer, your mom changed when your grandma got breast cancer, right? But if somebody got terminally ill, they're going to change immediately. Oh my God, I'm going to stop. Or if you go to lose your freedom, you start thinking like, was this worth it? Like, is this, and by the way, I was like, is this real? Like, I thought for a year, I was like, is this real? Like, is this really happening to me? Like, I've never hurt anybody. I was never a bad person. I've never had a bad heart. I just worked for the wrong company, man. So, look, stuff like this happens all the time, man. And, so that's the power of being around the right people, is you don't have to worry about this stuff. And I never want to go to sleep again, ever, like worrying about any of this. And so like, I'm just, I had to go through it, man. I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be able to help anybody had I not gone through that hell.
We all have pivotal conversations with our wives that influence our future. At some point, you're killing it at work. You've got 3 kids. You've got a multi-million-dollar house. And your wife says to you, I can live without you. And she squeezes your love handle. So tell us what happened after that.
Well, so we go through this like FBI deal, right? It's like happening. And
by the way, was it one phone call, or they're calling you into the office?
Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's going on for a couple of years. You know what I'm saying?
Years.
And yeah, it's years. I mean, these things don't just like solve up. Like, it happens in March and it's over by October.
They're squeezing you, right? They want you to turn. You got immunity at the end of the day. Every single person
that worked in that company all lied. Every one of them lied. I was told if I didn't lie, just look, if you don't lie, I'm going to kill you. I mean, I was called and said, hey, there's death threats on you right now. Like someone's trying to kill you. Like, I want you to understand this. Like, when you go to do the right thing, like the devil hates it, bro. Like, when you go to turn and you go from being a piece of crap to a good person, when you go from being a liar to a good person, like, dude, no one likes it. But all those people that lied all went to prison. All of them. And in the end, I don't know if you've ever watched a movie, right? And you kind of see how something plays out at the end. They all like plotted against me the whole time. And then down to the last week, the sentencing was coming. They all turned on each other. They all started tearing each other to pieces. No, he really did this. He really did this. They lied about everything. I didn't get involved in any of that. I told the freaking truth. You tell the truth will set you free. That's why I don't have a felony. I'm not in trouble. That's why I don't have a problem with anything. And that's why I live by like truth now. You know what I'm saying? But it was hell. But going on the backside of that, me and my wife now, there's a lot of resentment, that my wife has towards me. And then I feel obviously like I'm lost. Like the thing about lost people is lost people don't know they're lost. And so like money buries problems. And so, I'm making like $2 million a year. I'm making good money. My wife's got a purse full of cash. We got a paid off house. I'm doing better than everybody thought we would do.
In Oklahoma, which is a shit ton of money.
Yeah. And we have just everything is just like, there's a lot of unresolved issues. And from the outside, we are way better than most. I don't cheat on my wife. I'm a good man. I don't play golf on Sundays with, like everyone else did. Like, I'm home with my kids. The problem is I wasn't present. See, so I have this thing where like my wife says like love eyes, like she's like, I can tell when you're with me and when you're not with me. She's like, I can tell when you see me and you don't see me and you see through me. And she goes like, I support you as being a badass man and making money and winning and killing it and crushing it. But when you come home, like, we need you home. You can work even at home in the afternoon, but we want you to be present when you're home. And you're never present. You're in the pictures, but you don't even remember that. You missed everything. You don't even understand what the kids are interested in. You think you know about them. You don't know about them. You don't even know what they like. And so as you're sitting here, you're kind of like in delusion when you're being called up. She wasn't calling me out. She's calling me up. She's giving me an opportunity to be a better man, is what she was. But I remember I was always in shape. When I met her and I was 26 and she was 24, I was in good shape. This time, I was not in good shape. I had big fat love handles. I was out of shape. I was chunky. I was losing my edge. I was stressed out, going through all this crap that I just went through the last couple of years. I was just a pile of trash. Now, you can imagine I'm giving her nothing but absolute leftovers. I'm not present when I'm home. And then my wife one day, she just has this hard conversation. I was like, I'm on my way. And she like heated the food up, or she had the food ready. And I was like, I'm on my way. And I didn't show up. And then an hour later, she's like, are you coming? Cause like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way. And she's like, okay. So she reheats the food. And then an hour later, she's like, are you on your way? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I'm sick of it, man. And those are the hard lines a guy like me needs, because I'm always bumping the edges. I'm always trying to find, like, I have this itch, right? And the itch now is in such a good place. But the itch then was I didn't know what to do with it, right? And so I thought I needed to work harder because I could get lost in my work. I can go get lost in it and I'm good. And so I can bury all the pain. She's got kids. I know how much she loves my kids. I know how much she loves her kids. So like, she's like getting to be a mom and the kids love her. They need her. She knows they need her. So it's like, and by the way, we're doing better than anyone ever said we would. Aren't we winning? And really, we're just burying problems. So one night, she's just real direct. She's like, hey, I'm going to be completely clear and you're not going to want to hear this. And she's like, and I don't want to hurt you, but me and the kids have learned to live without you. Like you're not here. So like, we don't even operate like you're here. Just so you're aware, for years we've been operating like you haven't even been here and you haven't even noticed. You haven't even picked up a hint that we run without you. And then she's like, also, so it was like a double deal. And people like ask like, what did the second part have to do? So my wife triggered me in an area that was always really insecure for me, which goes back to 6th grade, being in good shape, having the six pack, being fit. I always did good when I was in shape. When I always got out of shape, everything always like went average. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm extreme. Greatness is found in the extreme. I'm either winning or I'm losing. Right? So like I average doesn't work for me. So she reaches over, she grabs my love handle. I don't know if anybody's ever grabbed your love handle, but maybe we'll do it after the show. I'll grab it and I'll just kind of pull on it for a minute. It's like spiders crawling up your back. And I was like, dude, how disrespectful is this woman? Now, she wanted to attack my ego. Everything you want in life's on the other side of your ego. And you know that. There's books on it. It's all the truth. I was a loser with an ego that was hurt. So like in total delusion. But this solved very quick. I go in the garage, I work out for 4 hours. Like I was going to walk in the house, like all ripped up and shredded. And she's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe how jacked you are. But that didn't happen. So I shaved my head, right? Which I honestly had I was losing my hair anyways. So it was like even way better for me. And I just went and owned my shit. I just said, dude, I don't like me. Like I think the awareness stage of like owning, self-assess, like anytime you coach somebody, you're like, hey, you got to be aware of what's happening, right? Like self-assessment, right? I didn't assess myself for probably 10 years. I stayed numb. Numb people are dangerous. I was very numb. And I call that the scarcity mindset. I wasn't living in abundance, scarcity, poverty, garbage, hurt. And by the way, she didn't deserve any of it because she's an amazing woman. And she would have been amazing. She would have married some badass guy. She would have had a good life. She found me. But let me tell you, there's always a really cool ending. I decided that I was going to chase human excellence and I wanted to be better. And so this is so crazy. I go, and if you want me to tell this real quick, I go to the computer, right? I type in motivation on YouTube. I'd never been on YouTube before. I'd never been on social media. We get 100 million views every 30 days on social media right now. 2019, I'd never been on the internet. Okay. I go to YouTube and I type in motivation. Tony Robbins pulls up. I remember after watching 20 minutes, and I'd never sat through any of this, right? Like an internet was like internet leads. There was no like internet, like I'm watching social media. I missed Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, whatever. I never was a part of any of that. So I didn't understand any of this except for this search bar. I typed into motivation because that's what weak people go for in the beginning. They need that spiritual like motivation to feel alive. And dude, Tony Robbins, within 20 minutes, dude, I changed my state. I altered the way that I was thinking. I wanted to win. Like, dude, I saw a different me within 20 minutes. And then the craziest thing is I always tell people like, I almost didn't do it. Like somebody is always like this close from like being in these shoes and this close from being in those shoes. Right. And so you got to understand like when you can get in those shoes, you always go for it no matter what. But I didn't understand this at this point, but I'm glad that I did. And I live by this now. Anytime I can cut the check for speed or pay somebody to mentor me or teach me or do anything, I want to know everything that everybody knows because that's a shortcut in life is model and proven practices. People have been somewhere. I want to figure out how they got there. I want them to teach me. I want to be their best student. That's the game. And so I saw this training at the end that he said, hey, if you want to change your life, if you felt different, if you can see differently, if you're in a different state now, Tony's doing his thing, right? He's like, I got this course. It's called the KBB Broker Blueprint Training Course, which will literally show you that how your specialized skill can be monetized. And I'm thinking, I don't have a specialized skill. I'm a car salesman, right? Well, my head is in the garbage. And he's like, I know you probably are good at something, right? And I thought, oh, I'm good at selling, because I was good at selling. And he's like, did you know there's people out there that would love to learn how to sell? And instead of waiting 20 years, right, to be great at it, they'd love to learn from you right now, and they'll cut you a check for it. And I thought, this is crap. People don't do this. I don't even understand the world. I've been in a car dealership for 22 years. My wife's like, dinner's ready. As I go to turn around, something in my body was just like heavy on my chest. Like people always say, like they feel a voice, right? I think like God, like sometimes you feel that voice from like the devil being like, don't do it. And you need to do it. And he's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Because you're actually about to take a risk. And he's like, don't do it. That's the devil. This one was like, do it, do it, do it. And I was like, but I'm not, nobody knows me. Like this is stupid. I need to go back to work tomorrow morning. Like, it's like, and then click. I just bought it. I spent $3,000. I remember going back to the dinner. I said, babe, I just spent $3,000 on a training course. She didn't get mad. I couldn't believe it. I swear she was going to get mad. And she goes, as long as you'll do the training, that's all I care about. So I made that commitment. That was my first commitment. For the next 30 days, watch how weak I was. For the next 30 days, I did this training. Now there was a money back guarantee that in 30 days, if you didn't get your money worth, you could get your money back. I studied this course like hell. Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, studied the hell out of all of them, dude. I totally was on fire, bro. I saw a new me. My wife said, dude, Andy, your eyes have changed color. You're on a different deal here. Long story short, quit my job. I'm done. She's like, whoa, you're moving. And I went to her, and this is the last scarcity that I've had. I said, hey, I want to get my money back. Babe, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. Can you help me get my money back? That way, it was free. And she's like, okay, this is a chance for you to understand how this whole thing works, which she was like my mom. She's like, okay, you're going to leave. You're going to go teach people how to do this thing because they just taught it to you. And now you know the skill that they taught you. Did you get your money's worth? Yes or no? Yes, I did. Okay. And so when you go and train people and you coach them after they pay you and you give the value, do you want them to ask for a refund? And I was like, no. And she's like, but you're going to do it. Do you understand what karma is? And we're going to go build a business. You just quit your job and you want your money back? And I was like, I'm such an idiot. And at that point I was like, I have got to change this. Like my head was just such a piece of crap. So I worked on my mind every day. The greatest gift you'll ever give yourself is spending time working on yourself. I spent every day, all day, studying, training. I cut the check. We sold our house. We did everything. And we went to zero and we rebuilt.
Huge change in your life. You're starting a new company, lots of new businesses. Most new businesses need capital, and you got a total reset. So you did sell your house. You sold your furniture. You didn't have mattresses. You rented a house. Put yourself back in that mindset right now and think about the first day you're in this rental house. You got nothing there. But can you put yourself in that mind right now?
It was amazing. Yeah, listen. So look, I'm going to tell you this. When a man really decides to change, his wife goes all in on him, but not until she sees he really made a change. And most people are like, oh, I'm going to change. I've never told my wife I was going to change like this. When I made this change, it wasn't my idea to sell on the house. Dude, this is crazy. My wife raised our kids in this house. This was her home, okay? She said, in order for us to make it, it's going to take everything we have. We're going to sell the house. We're going to sell the furniture. We're going to explain to the kids that we're recreating our lives. You're going to reinvent yourself. I'm going to reinvent myself. We're going to get in shape. We're going to get closer than ever. Dad's going to be a good dad. You're going to be a good daddy now. You're also, right, going to be here with us, and our whole family's going to do this together. You're taking your family with us, and I will support you. I will back you, but I don't want to be your queen. I want to be your battle mate. From now on, me and you, we go to battle together. And I was like, I'm in. Remember, I almost went to jail. I almost did all this. I see this guy now. He's changing my state. I see differently. Dude, we went to this little rent house. There was mattresses on the floor. My wife said, I'm not furnishing it. There will be no furniture in this house. There will be mattresses on the floor. We're going to stay like this until we move out of here and build our dream house. We're going to build our business. It was like an FBI lab, 2 plastic tables. Me and her took phone calls all day long. All I did was shot content on the internet, which was an absolute weirdest thing ever because I'd never spoken to a phone before or a camera, and it felt really weird, but we learned. We learned it all. We learned everything. And I was so hungry and passionate, had so much pain, and I knew everybody was betting against us. Everyone was like, are you guys okay? What's going on? What happened to your house? We didn't answer no one. We cut our whole family off. We cut everyone off. No one knew what was happening. And then when I started posting all the stories, you think people are on social media, you think people be like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. You're starting your business. No, dude, they were like, who are you? This isn't who you are. We know who you are. You know what I'm saying? Why are you trying to pretend like this? And that's what happens when you try to change. People can't change in front of their peers. And so literally me and Jackie we moved to Arizona, which is here. We left everything we knew, everyone, everything, all of it. And dude, I'm telling you, we rebuilt our whole freaking life. And the rest is history, dude. Everyone can do it. But she backed me. She backed me because I kept my word that time.
When we reinvent ourselves, we have to tell ourselves the truth. And why is it so hard for us to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves?
Because we feel unworthy. I mean, honestly, really, anybody that's been through a hell life or through some stuff, you're thinking about all the people that said you weren't going to make it. Dude, honestly, you're thinking about how bad you've been to yourself. I was really bad to me for a long time. Dude, when I was going through the FBI stuff, there was a lot of times when I was like, dude, I'm going to kill me. Like, if I would just kill me, like, everybody's going to be better. Like, dude, the devil's so good about making people think they're not going to make it through a situation. And so, the good thing is that, again, lessons, man. They're just lessons. They're nasty lessons. And, I don't wish anybody to have to go through any of these nasty lessons, but I've learned the bigger the mess, usually the bigger the message, man. The more wounds you have, the more weaponized you are. Saul in the Bible turned to Paul. Dude, he was a Christian killer and he took the Bible the furthest. It's like, dude, I think God likes a good example. I think he likes good examples, so that other people can be like, hell, dude, if he did that, I can do it.
So you started this new business, a coaching business. The Elliott Group is the name of the business. Yep. And you started putting out videos online. You actually put them for sale before the class was even finished. So tell us, most people have a plan. They just don't create these videos online. You just kind of trial by ear. You started posting all these free content. Give us the strategy between free content and paid content, and how does that whole conversion process work? People are saying, why am I going to pay Andy Elliott all this money when I can get it for free?
Well, number one, you get better every day. That's the trick. And so I learned this right out the gate, which I had a lot of people tell me, like, don't give away everything you got because then nobody can pay you for anything. Again, that's not the abundance mindset. That's a scarcity mindset. And thank God I didn't listen to those people. Because like value first, like value added content was what we did. So basically what I did is that I crushed the game. If you really want to know this in 30 seconds, I went to Google. I typed in car sales training because that's what I was good at first, right? Before we niched out to all industries. I went into Google and I typed in car sales training. Car sales training in Google said people also searched. And all of those titles that it gave me that people also searched, I made YouTube videos on every one of those titles. I clicked on those titles that said people also searched, and I knew that Google had crawled that blog or that video, and that copy was very enticing because it served it before anything else. Out of like 20 million searches, it served that one. So I'd copy and paste and move it over here. So literally it would crawl mine, and I used the same title, and then I made videos showing how to overcome that. I made 500 to 1,000 videos within 1 year.
You're just kicking them out every day.
Every day I did three to five a day. Long form YouTube videos. And then guess what happened? I didn't ask for $1. I went broke for a year. All I did, watch, smartest thing I did, and it was stupid, but it's smart. So Gary Vee had this text community, and it said, text me. I didn't understand it was a text community. Like, what does that mean? Because I'm not smart with technology. I thought he gave his cell phone number out. I was like, dude, this is cool. The guy gives his cell phone number out. So I gave my cell phone number out to everyone. And so every day it'd be like a dick pic, like a naked picture, somebody saying something bad, and then 10 people tell me they love my training. It's like every day. Like it was like that was the world. And I wouldn't ask anybody to buy anything. I would just respond and say, hey man, I believe in you. I appreciate you. If you need something, let me know. If you have an objection, I'll help you cover it. If you want to be a good leader, do this. And I was doing this, and I was posting content online about my life-changing transformation and getting in shape, talking about my wife, loving my kids, and I'm doing all these things. But the biggest, craziest thing is that I built up a following and an audience, and I really understand what I was doing. And then this guy told me, he goes, in 2020, he goes, dude, you need to build a course. And I built a 0 to 100K course, and it was how to go from $0 to $100,000 as a sales guy. I posted it. It wasn't even finished. The course wasn't even made yet. I just kind of started making it. But he was like, yeah, you ought to pre-release it. Tell people it's $1,000, but they can buy it for like $299 if they get it tonight. And I was like, oh, great idea. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I go make this YouTube deal, and I go live on YouTube to the people that had been watching me give away free content for the last year. And I said, hey, if you've been watching my content and, it's helped change your life or make you more money in any way, I've actually created a structured course. You don't have to dig all over YouTube for it. 21 modules that will teach you how to go from 0 to 100,000 fast and get there again and again and again in sales. And so I made it this. You guys have been asking for it. So I made it. I go to bed. I woke up the next morning. There was $150,000 in my Stripe account. And then I started to understand, I'm gonna make this a business. And I just became obsessed. And I still to this day give away massive amounts of free content and training everywhere. I think honestly, a lot of people are always like, if you buy this thing, I'll show you how good I am. I get better every day, dude. I take the old me to the back of the building. I shoot him in the head every day. So if you knew me yesterday, like we meet today, tomorrow, you're not going to know me because I'm going to be a different guy. So if you bought my training yesterday, today, like you're going to have to buy it again today because I just keep growing, man. Like I understand the art and the game of change and I've become obsessed with it. I'm a super freak with it. Like I'm obsessed, like a crackhead, trying to chase his next hit a crack for an edge, for self-development, for social media. Dude, I understand the algorithms like no one. I understand everything. I understand how to transform, change anybody's life. When somebody's talking to me, I can feel their pain. I can change them. I know I can change them. I can teach people to sell. I never turn it off. I don't have an off switch. I was dead for 39 years. So now I'm going to be like this until I die. And anyways, that's how I built my business.
Yeah, 3 years, 9-figure business. And one of the things you've done, I've been walking around here now for 2 days. Brandon's been amazing. Shout out to Brandon for showing me around. He's
guy.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. Andrew Loringer, we got to give a shout out to him because without him introducing to Brandon, then I wouldn't be here. So Andrew, appreciate you so much.
Appreciate you, brother.
The culture on here is absolutely insane. You can feel the energy when you walk in the building. Culture is such an important part of how we build successful companies. You have put out there that I will pay you $10 million in cash if you can recruit somebody for my company. Is that insanity or is that reality?
So I lived by that for a while, but then I realized that honestly, that could never exist or play out. It did for the first couple of years of my life. I lived by that. To be honest with me, I mean to you, like I thought when you change someone's life, when you took someone who was broken and had a lost marriage, wasn't a good father, wasn't a good mother, didn't make any money, had no one believe in them. I thought if you took someone like that and you would totally change everything in their life and give them everything and show them a life that they never could ever have. I just thought like people like that would stay with you forever. Like it doesn't make sense, right? And so that's the way I lived for the first couple of years. Like if you can recruit one of my guys, like it's impossible. Like I'd give you 10 million cash. Like you can't do it. It's impossible. My team would never leave me. But then I had a guy quit and it totally blew me away. And then when he left, I sat back and I realized that I had saved this guy every month for 4 years. I had talked this guy down from burning his life to the ground every month. I was never going to stop this guy from burning his life to the ground. And honestly, like I love the guy, like I wish him the best, but like I couldn't have done anything. I always ask myself when somebody leaves or at any point in time, like what could I have done differently? Nothing. I mean, I physically could have done nothing. And so I realized that honestly, like I've built such an incredible culture. I've built such an incredible life. I give everything to everyone around here. I would die for them, truly. I take care of their kids. They take care of my kids. Our families are here. We have 87 people on payroll right now currently. We would do anything. I mean, they said, don't get close to your people. We do life with our people. We do anything. But you understand this. You're around here. You see how close everybody is. The fire, the culture. That's why we scale so fast. They're not salespeople. They're all coaches. They're all me, and they're all younger, and they're on fire, dude. They're fire. We're obsessed with this development. But I can't keep everybody forever. And it's good to be delusional, right? And does it hurt when somebody leaves? Yeah, it hurts. But at the end of the day, honestly, I think 95% of my team will be with me forever. I think that having the right people around you is a very important part of life. And, I let them operate this business like it's theirs. I let them build their own brands and everything in it. And that's why we call Elliott Army.
People come here because you can change lives. Yeah. How can a company be a sniper?
Well, number one, when you change someone's life, 99.9% of people will be indebted to you for life, right? And that's what I do. I find people in my coaching program that I change their life. And I have their back now until death. I'm with them. It's just crazy. It's not a career. It's not a job. This is our life. What else would we do? To be real, I know you've sold businesses, right? But I don't ever want to sell this, right? I love this. This is what makes me healthy. This is what makes me tick. This isn't a business. This is what made me a good man. This is my ministry. This is all our ministries. We all wanted to be good people. We all want, and the crazy thing is I always say God opens doors humans can't close. When I try to open these doors for so long, and humans can close them, and things always happen. But the Elliott Group, it's our ministry. You can't close the doors. We're doing God's work. We're not calling it a church, but we're doing God's work for sure.
You have amazing people around here. I know I've met some of them along the way, and I've done a lot of research and done research on you. And one of the things you're known for, and my cousin, my nephew texted me, Andy Elliott, and then he started talking about the six-pack.
Yeah.
And you made this comment once. You're at this conference, you're speaking on stage, there's a bunch of obese people there on their phones, and you said, we don't hire people if you don't have a six-pack, and we'll fire you if you don't have a six-pack. True, not really true, metaphor, reality?
Number one, I wanted to trigger the hell out of everybody.
Which you did.
Right. And then, and it's always good to get a good piece of viral social media content.
I mean, there's nothing better, right? People still know.
Yeah, it was a great viral deal.
I got to think of something like that, by the way.
Dude.
You got to give me a little heads up on how I can do that for our business.
But do you know what is genius? And this is crazy. Is, well, when people aren't paying attention, okay, I don't like it. I like it. If you say you want something, then I believe that you want it. And then when I see you distracted, I'm kind of confused, right?
It's rude, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So most people don't say nothing; they put up with it. But as a leader, you get what you tolerate. So I'm not going to tolerate it. You can, with all these other speakers, you can get on their phones. You can mess around. But I'm not going to tolerate it. You came here to grow. You came here to learn, right? So this 45 minutes, I'm going to recreate your life. So you're going to pay attention. And so the people that don't, I just thought, I looked over and there was this person and they weren't obese, but they were just out of shape. They were lazy. They looked lethargic, in the sense they didn't care. And so I was like, okay. I was like, come here, man, come here. I'm like, come here. And I'm like, okay, so you kiss your kids, your wife goodbye. You come to this event, you pay this money, you travel here, right? Is that what happened? Yeah, you got 2 kids at home? Okay, cool. How old are your kids? 8, 6. Is this the example you want to be for your kids? I'm just asking. Take a look at yourself, right? Not paying attention. You left your family to sit here and be jacking around on your phone while you're at an event that you told your family you were going to come to spend time away from them to get better. Is this your best self? Is this your kid's hero right now? If I call your son up here right now and I ask him, I say, who's your hero? Is he going to say my dad? I don't think so. And I was like, take your shirt off. And by the way, I love doing this, because I trigger the hell out of people. And what I say is that go look in the mirror, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to live with you. I don't go home with you, bro. You go home with you. You look in the mirror, man. And if you're not really wanting to look in there, it's because you're dodging that guy. That guy is a solution to every damn problem in your life. That guy. Nobody wants to face that guy. The devil does not want you to look in that mirror and own your shit and get your stuff together. He don't want you to. He don't want you to buy the training program. He don't want you to go to the gym. He wants you to be lazy. He wants you to live in scarcity. He wants you to be a piece of crap. Over his dead body, does he want you to be an example to your children? It is child neglect if you're not an example to your children. Who else should be? Should it be some other man be to motivate my wife and kids? Should that be the neighbor? Or is it you? Because most men, it's not them. And so I speak to these men and I'm like, dude, listen, if you think your wife's proud of you, you're an absolute idiot. She doesn't chase you around the house, bro. She doesn't chase you around the house no more. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't feel like she's seen by you. I'm telling you, and it doesn't bother you, you're a loser. I just get really pissed about this stuff because there used to be a time I thought which men were like the example in a home. And they're just not. And they call it this masculinity phase. It's called being a man. Okay? It's called being a man and being a very loving man. Like Christians are love. Like without love, you're bankrupt. They're very loving men who are savages, who protect their home. I freaking hate this. I said this on stage to a guy one time. I said, you know, they interviewed all these child molesters, people who molest children. And they asked them, what was the number one thing that you looked at before you decided to take a target out on a child, to molest a child? And they said, we looked for weak fathers. Look at yourself. Look at yourself. Would someone think twice about messing with your children because you look like a threat? I guarantee, man, if somebody messes with my kids, you look at me, you're going to think I ain't messing with that guy's kids. And hey, and I ain't a bully. I'm a loving guy, but it's my job to protect my family. What the hell happened to that? And so I went on this like era of like really like trying to really beat. And just so you're aware, I wanted to piss people off. I wanted to trigger people. We built an audience of people that go, dude, I hate that guy, but I watch him for entertainment. And then people going, dude, I love this guy, man. I'm going to become a better man because of this dude. I got to stay plugged in. And so now we are 2025. The six-pack of You're Fired was like a 2022 thing. I walk into any airport, 500 people, 600 people, any mall, everybody runs up and they always come up to me and they say, hey, dude, I lost 80 pounds, bro. I'm like, I'm not a fitness coach. I'm a business coach. I'm not even a fitness coach. And they walk up and like, dude, I lost 80 pounds. Wives come up to me and they're like, dude, you have no idea what you did for my husband. He's on fire. That era where I went psycho could have been the greatest thing that I ever did. Now, as I got a coach, right? Because I've always had coaches. Dean is one of my coaches. And Dean's like, hey, man, you know, you got to kind of wear your heart, right? Like out here where people can see it. Like we know you have a heart because we can tell how passionate you are, right? But he's like, people got to know that you love them, man. You know, you're just a little hard. And so if you see a lot of my content now, right? Like I'm trying to show people that I love them. And I make sure that they know that like I love them. Like I'm not a bad person. Like I'm not scary. I'm not yelling at you. Look, I get excited, okay? Winning should be exciting. Okay, changing your life should be exciting. Like people are like, why is this guy yelling? It's like, well, dude, like that's called having a good life. Like getting excited.
There's a lot of ways to motivate people in terms of how to sell. We'll talk about a few of them, but how is asking somebody to imagine someone kidnapping their family and telling them with a gun to their head, if you don't improve productivity in 3 months, I'm going to kill your family?
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, it's so
do I, by the way. Yeah. When I heard you say that, I'm like, damn, that's good.
Well, because people like are just so blocked, right, on what can happen that, I used it as an automotive example, but I would say like if you're a solar salesman, I'm like, how many deals do you sell a month? And they're like 3. And I'm like, okay, cool. You got 3 kids, you got a wife. Let me ask you a question. If I told you I was going to kidnap your kids and I was going to kill them, if you didn't sell 10 solar deals a month, would you sell 10? They're like, hell yeah, I'd sell 10. And I'm like, okay, well why do I have to kidnap your family and threaten to kill them for you to sell 10? Couldn't you have a good, healthy family and go sell 10? Well, yeah, but okay, cool. Then why don't you? Dude, it's just the point that people just don't push the limit anymore. They just, dude, listen, the whole world is full of mediocrity, brother. And so I don't know, it just pisses me off, dude. I like to trigger people. I like to get them to think differently, like philosophy, like just think differently, see it from a different perspective.
You're one of the best salespeople in the world, one of the best coaches in the world. What are the 3 most important elements of our success?
Man, there's so many things. You mean like
What makes us successful? Like you're asking, I come to Andy and said, "Hey Andy, I'm new. I need some advice for you. Just give me 3 things."
In sales?
Well, in success, let's take it 2 ways. What are the 3 most important successful in sales, and are they any different if you're not in sales?
Yeah, I mean, I think no salesperson is ever going to be successful without confidence. Just can't happen. You're dead in the water without confidence. Without belief, you're dead in the water. And then also, I think a lot of people don't give themselves permission to have a big life. I know that sounds weird. I train a lot of women. They're very good in sales. Very good. I mean, deadly. But most of them never become really successful and make a lot of money until they give themselves permission to start making money. Men are pretty stupid, right? We're like, oh, we can make a lot of money? Let's go. And then we just jump in. But women have to reason, with can I do this? Am I good at this? And they overthink it. If they'll just give themselves permission to win, they'll kick every guy's ass. They're just dangerous. So I think confidence, I think belief, delusionally, right? Everybody came to buy, will buy. As long as I do my job, do your job, they're going to say yes. Don't think about anything else. I promise you, it'll always play yes out in your favor. Give yourself permission to win. I think if you want to be successful, there will be people that will definitely disagree with this. But I would say, number one, you're never going to win long range in success without a good family life, without a good home life. You can't. If you don't take care of your home, it's going to implode at some point and you will start over. And so however far you think you're getting ahead short term, you're going to lose it all. I watch every man ruin his family. I watch him, and they don't mean to, but no one ever teaches us how to have it all. That's the missing piece, that they don't teach us how to have it all. So we are one dimensional. We only think we can have this, but we can't. It's that was my biggest struggle. My wife's like, you're so stupid, So I would say, number one, if you want to really be a dangerous competitor, if me and you were the same in skill, but I had a badass home life and you didn't, I would smoke you. Because in 2 years, you're gonna get tired. My wife's gonna keep building me up, telling me I'm a badass. I'm gonna love who I am. I'm gonna be fired up, get a good night's sleep. I'm gonna be on fire. I'm gonna be magnetic, infectious. I'm gonna be rocking it. Dude, I'm gonna show my team what having a great family looks like. My team's gonna work harder for me than your team will work for you. Dude, my team don't need to look up to anybody else. They can look right here. I'm gonna show them how to have it all. That home life piece is a very important piece to the puzzle that is not talked about enough, okay? And by the way, I'm not telling you not to make money. I'm telling you to be the best in the damn world. You think your wife wants you to be a loser? She wants her husband to be the best, but your family wants to go with you. And so just be present, be where your feet are. Wherever you are, be there. If you're at the gym, don't be thinking about being at home. If you're at home, don't be thinking about being at work. Just be where your feet are, right? And if you treat something like it's the beginning, there'll never be an end. So I think that's a big deal. I still look at my wife like it was the first day. Damn, I want that. And I still do that. And I still keep dating with her. I still keep flirting with her. And people will tell you this crap and they don't do it. The one thing I love about my wife, and no man I think would be able to make it with my wife, honestly. The reason why is because if me and her aren't getting along, if I'm not on fire with her, right? She holds me to such a high standard. And most people I wouldn't put up with that. I know you wouldn't. That's the reason why we're growing so fast. Is because I have the best damn accountability partner in the world. And by the way, I think a lot of people underestimate the superpower of the person they're with. Everything that you want is sitting right next to you, but you're an idiot. You don't motivate her. You don't fire her up. You don't invest in her. My wife one day, she said something. I remember 2 things she said, and I'll go back to what you asked me, but I was doing a sales meeting. I was firing this team up. And when I was done, I was like, my wife's going to be so proud of me, dude. That was the best sales meeting I ever did in my life. My wife walked over and she goes, I wish I could get some of that. I'm like, she's right. I'm on fire when I take those sales calls. I'm on fire when they call me about business growing. But when's the last time I went home and told my wife I'm ready to grow our marriage like crazy? I do that now. So that was kind of a big deal that woke me up. But so my wife, you can tell clearly, she's that accountability partner. But I was talking to a guy one night, we're on the phone, and he was having a marriage problem. And I was like, hey, brother, listen, man. I'm like, you got to go and you got to see her, brother. She knows you're looking through her. You got to make sure that, she feels seen. And I look over at my wife. We're arguing. And she's like, no ways. And I'm like, I got to call you back. I'm like, babe, listen. I'm like, that's my job. She goes, I'm not going to marry a fraud. I'm not going to date a fraud. Okay. What advice did you give him? And I was like, well, she's like, are you looking at me right now like you love me? Is that how you're looking at me? And I'm like, and she's like, you're not looking at me like that, but you're going to give me advice. Do you feel good about that? And I'm like, why did I have to marry the most dangerous woman on planet Earth and most men are like, I wouldn't put up with that. I know you wouldn't. That's why your life sucks. That's why your life will never be what it should be, because your ego. And she's just such a good, by the way, a lot of people don't think that their coach should be their wife. It should be like Tony Robbins, because that's cool. Everybody would love if I said Tony Robbins is my coach. No, she's my coach, dude. She's a savage. She knows me more than anybody. She knows when I'm slipping. Your wife knows everything about you. She knows it. The question is have you given her permission to be direct with you? Can she tell you? Do you have ego? Do you fight her for it? And so that was something I learned. So I think another deal is, I think if you're going to be in a relationship at some point in your life, grow and take your family with you. And all of the self-development you do, make sure she's there also. So you guys can grow together, and you can independently be a savage. She can independently be a savage. And then you guys will be a power couple together. Dangerous. Great home life. Obviously the relationship to me is like ultra important. And then I would say, become just some skill, or one piece of advice. Whatever you're going to do, master it. Most people are a master of none. They've never mastered anything. And that's the reason why they won't be remembered, And I believe in changing people's lives and stuff. And so my mastery is the art of communication. I'm a sniper. If I can get my hands on you, I'm going to change your life. I'm going to do it. And so that's my sell, is I'm just delusional in that.
One of the things that's made me successful is something I called extreme preparation. I prepare more than anybody for any meeting, any podcast.
I can tell.
Anything. How important is preparation? How important is preparation? 1 to 100. How important is preparation?
101. It's success favors the prepared. And it's the cool quote, but it's just the truth. And if you didn't succeed, you probably didn't prepare enough. And then if you did fail, you probably need to prepare harder next time. Like that 10X Grant Cardone book, he said most people underestimate the amount of effort it takes to be great at anything. And so, you over prepare. Guess what? When is the last time has over preparing screwed you? Never.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Are good-looking people more successful at sales than non-good-looking people?
Yeah,
but people will look at this and say, Andy, man, what if I'm not good-looking? What if I'm not a model, or I'm not thin, or I'm not?
We don't have to be a model, because I'm a pretty ugly guy. But I am in very good shape, so it increases my odd of being more attractive because I am in better shape, right? And so, again, it's like I'm not Brad Pitt, but I can work out, get in really good shape. That increases my odds. And by the way, increases my influence. Okay. Believe it or not, dude, if I was a fat person right now, 350 pounds, would you be having a podcast with me?
Well, it depends.
See, here's at the end of the day. I wouldn't.
If Jelly Roll were sitting in here, I'd be like, hey, Jelly, man, let's get down with this show.
No, I just wanted you to know. I was kidding when I said that, but I was saying,
I know.
I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be where I am, honestly, because it looked like I don't make good decisions. If you look like you make bad decisions, you probably do. Okay. But I do want to say something. If someone was to knock on your door right now, if they were to, pitch you anything, if they were more attractive, would you probably give them 30 seconds more time than if they were ugly?
That's why we see good-looking female sales reps visiting all the doctor's offices. We have a friend, a family friend, who sells pharmaceutical. She's good-looking and got boobs, big boobs, because men like looking at big boobs. And she loves it. She knows it. She's a top salesperson. So
yeah, and you don't have to be flirtatious. Here, look, this is crazy, but my wife, she has never been hit on. And you may say, Andy, your wife's lying to you. No, she just didn't get hit on. My wife's a good looking girl. She's awesome. She just didn't get hit on. She doesn't have that personality. My wife is a very direct business person, awesome communicator, loving person who is non-flirtatious. And so you can be attractive as a female, and you don't have to be flirty. And people are like, oh, I get it. So you're a slut or you're flirty. No, dude. No, you're attractive. I think everybody should understand that you chase or you attract.
Yeah.
And, and so take care of yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think physical
It increases
attraction.
your odds.
I think physical attraction is so important in a relationship, right? You need to be attracted to your mate, and then you see people. Okay, you're once in good shape. Now one person is very obese, and you look at these couples sometimes, and I think, how is that going to work out? So
Well, I think it ain't working out, and they ain't screwing for sure.
Then, so tell us about the divorce diet, right? I mean, it's what happens when you get divorced and someone is not in shape, and you're thinking about, all right, the next time I'm getting naked with someone, I better have that six pack, or I better not be as fat as I used to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you see
Not
it all.
the right motivation.
Well, no, but you see it all the time, and dude, I honestly believe that being in great shape is one of the best feelings in the world. It really is. It's just one of the best feelings in the world, and I think anything that makes you feel good, I think you should do a lot of. And I think it makes you feel amazing when you take good care of yourself and you look good.
The most enjoyable thing in the world is having sex.
Yeah.
And
if you do it right, I guess, for sure.
Well, you said if you're not having sex with your spouse every day, then you hate yourself. Is that really true?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, dude, I mean, your wife, I'll go back to this, but your wife said, I'm not going to have sex with any other man for the rest of my life. I give myself to you, and she's not having sex with you? I mean, the deal is that you didn't keep your word, man. You promised her the ride of a lifetime, It was cool when you guys got together, and, again, probably other things are more important than her. She knows about it. You guys aren't having sex. You're becoming roommates. End of story. Your kids are going to have a marriage just like you guys do. Good job.
My rabbi told me something once a long time ago. He said, if you're not having sex with your wife, you're having sex with somebody else. And same thing for her.
Well, listen, the devil, I'm going to tell you this for sure. Me and my wife have sex every night. And a lot of people are like, man, that's extreme. Oh, yeah, we're pretty extreme.
I read that and I'm thinking, is there a night where you just want a night off? You got to replenish. You got to
Hey,
I mean, it's just hard. I mean, physically, it's hard. I mean, not that.
Do you want me to tell you what's hard? Me and my wife, no matter what's going on, if we have sex, no matter what's going on, no matter what problems we have in our life, they all disappear and we sleep great together. And so I'm never going to let the devil come into my home and come into my bed. And even if, we're not I don't know. I want to have sex with my wife. I don't understand. I guess everybody's built differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I hunt my wife. Dude, listen, something happened when she stood by my side, when the FBI came in and I got in big trouble. And then when she stood by my side through all that hell, I understood that I've been pleasing the wrong people our entire life. I have been kissing everyone else's ass my whole life. And she is the one that's going to be by my side when I freaking die. I am an absolute piece of shit. I owe her my life. And guess what? Just like somebody would save your life in a war, my wife saved my life. And so I know most guys don't get it, but that's how I view her. She's my best friend. And I'm obsessed with her. I love having sex with her. I love her being a great mother. She's my best friend. She's my counselor. She's the CEO of our company. If you were to talk to her right now, you see she's a savage, bro. She's an animal, but she's the heart of our whole company.
You ever heard of the Urban Dictionary? Never heard of the Urban Dictionary? All right, I'm going to shout out to my buddy Robbie McGee on this one. I'm going to read you something from the Urban Dictionary. You ever heard of the word nip-ons?
Mm-mm.
All right. Nip-ons are the state of obvious protuberance of the nipples, or when one's nipples are visibly hard due to cold weather, friction, or possibly physical arousal. Talk to us about your wife pregnant and pinching your nipples.
Well, so I love this. Actually, a funny story. And she was pregnant with our son, Ian. First time she's pregnant, right? And I'm at work, and I come home. And she's just in this miserable state. And by the way, not being negative, she's just very uncomfortable. And she's like, you caused this, right? And I'm having your son. And she's like, I'm going to pinch your nipples. She's like, that would make me feel better. And it was funny because we cracked up, right? And I'm like, all right, baby, whatever make you feel better, whatever it is. And dude, she pinched my nipples so hard, dude. I remember it's just me and her. We lived out at Lake Texoma, which is in between Oklahoma and Texas, this small lake. No one's around. There's no social media. It's 2009. There's nothing. We had no friends. It's just me and her cracking up. We're best friends, right? And at that point, the rest of our life to this day, anytime she's going through something, she's like, it'll make me feel better if I pinch your nipples. And so she'll just grab and pinch my nipples. And she does it just as like a joke when something's going wrong. She's like, come here. No. You didn't, look, you're like a puppy. There's the puppy pad and you piss next to the puppy pad. There's the hamper and you threw your clothes on the ground right next to it. And I got to go pick it up. So come here. I'm going to pinch your nipples. And people will laugh, dude. And and people don't like seeing people have fun. They don't like it.
But people comment on. I mean, I asked
I
the
love
question. It's a question because I think it's important to have playfulness with your wife.
Yeah.
And not always be so serious. But people make fun of your hard nipples all the time online.
I love it, bro.
I mean, everyone's talking about Andy's nipples.
Bro, they make fun of my short. Dude, they make fun of everything. Listen, at the end of the day, what happens is that when people hate themselves, right? And by the way, hey, listen, my nipples are always hard, right? But when people hate themselves, honestly, like a lot of times, like I make people question themselves and they don't like that, right? Like I'm talking about my wife and some guys, if his wife was watching this podcast, he'd be like, babe, don't watch that crap. That guy's a loser. Yeah, I get it, dude. I get it, man.
Don't you love the haters?
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't be this far without them. And I understand what Grant Cardone said when I read it, and he says, I wouldn't be this far without you. Can't thank you enough. Well, the fact that we're in this state of social media, right, which is a big part of the world now because everybody's on their phone all the time. If you want to really have influence and you want to build your brand, you're going to have to understand how to hack the algorithm, which we do. And it gets around 100 million views every 30 days. The haters help me get my content to travel to my followers, my believers. And so thank you. Like, honestly, like I'm grateful. The more they say negative stuff, the more engagement I get, the more comments I get, the more that the algorithm is like, oh man, something's going on here. Let's show more people. And so I'm super grateful for it. Honestly, like, I mean, I've been made fun of my whole life. So like I have a pretty good life.
One of the things that's hard for us to see too is when we live in a toxic world, what we have to do, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're in it. So what's your advice when there's someone gnawing at you or criticizing you behind your back and you just have to deal with these people? You really don't have to deal with them, do you?
Yeah, like honestly, like I know this sounds crazy, but like I've never had somebody walk up to me and say anything to my face.
They don't have the courage.
I don't know.
I mean, you look like a badass. Like,
I know, but I've been out in public everywhere. Like, dude, like, by the way, I want to say something. Like, I'm not like a fighter or something, right? Like, I work out. I'm in the gym. I take care of myself. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to defend my family or something like that. But like, like people don't like to see people come up. People don't like to see people change. Like because I made all these mistakes and I was like an underdog and stuff. Like I love seeing people correct their life. Like that's what a good leader is like, man, you can change. But the problem is that when people make those changes, like people don't like it. I think it's because people put boundaries on themselves, right? Or maybe I put boundaries on you, on what I thought you were possible, like what you could do. And then when you go outside those boundaries, I'm like, screw you, dude. But at the end of the day, like I've never had any issues, man. Like I'm out in public every day. Like I don't have a bodyguard. I mean, we're all strapped and have guns, but like I've always carried guns. Everyone here has a gun. We got hundreds of guns around here. If you walk into the Elliott Group, there are machine guns and whatever you can call them everywhere. There are semi-automatics. There are weapons in every corner of this place. And we love it. We live in the beautiful state of Arizona. We love weapons.
What's wrong with the human condition that so many people are unhappy for others who become successful, or especially massively successful?
Well, again, I just think that I just think that people, like if I see you win, then I'm just like, screw that guy. Right? I mean, that's pretty easy for me to say, dude, I don't like you, dude. Who do you think you are? You think you're cool? Coming in here with you and your girl, you think you're cool? Like, I just hate me, bro. They don't hate you. you make them question themselves. And so that's why they hate you. That's why, and they don't really hate you. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you this real quick because I know that you'll get this. And because being successful in business, as you're going to build your social media now, you're going to get things like it looks like this. It goes, I hate you. I wish you were dead. I hate watching your stuff. I hope you drowned. Like, this is my social media, like my DMs. I get people to tell me I change their life every day, but then you get these hateful ones.
Yeah.
We never respond. I don't ever reply to anybody.
You don't engage with people and
I
just
don't
kind of
engage
fire
with
it up?
I don't engage with nobody, bro. No. And then, I might have said thank you before to somebody, like over something, but I don't engage with anybody. Never comment to your haters. Never come down. You're here, bro. You don't go there. But they're in the comment section, and everybody's different, but that's my deal. And but then one day, it's like marketing the right message to the right person at the right time. They say, "Hey, bro, I hope you'll accept my apology. I want to tell you that I've been really hateful for a long time. I've been mean. My wife had just threatened me that she's going to walk out on me. My kids don't like me. I've been in a really toxic relationship with myself. Your videos really inspire me to be a better man. It's just that I was living in darkness. I'm finally making a decision today to change my life. I gave my life to God, and I want to tell you that I want to, be inspirational like you one day. I want to help people, and please forgive me. I know you probably will never see this, but forgive me, And I just say, hey man, we love you. Like, we believe in you. Like, whatever you need, we got you. It's cool. Dude, I don't hold nothing. I was a piece of crap for a long time.
One of the really cool things about my show is I get to meet amazing people that I admire, people like you that motivate and inspire me. And what I learn, shockingly, along the way is all these immensely successful people, including you, have a coach. You've coached, you're going to come up on 1 million people at some point pretty soon. And you're one of the best coaches ever. And you've got a coach. And as I'm thinking, I've been coaching people for 25 years, and I want to get into a formalized training program. We're going to have classes. I hope to do some of what you guys are doing. And I say to myself, I had the most successful, one of the successful money managers on my show. Graham Weaver runs an $18 billion private equity firm. He's been getting coaches his whole life. He goes to Tony Robbins seminars, and I interviewed Tony, as you know, a couple weeks ago. And I'm saying to myself, like, I should get a coach. Shouldn't everybody get a coach? And what do you say to people who are making $100,000 a year and say, I can't really afford a coach?
Well, you can't afford not to have a coach. At the end of the day, everybody, I say there's two things that'll ruin a man's life. And by the way, this could work for women too, but because my audience is about 80% male. Okay. Number one, having the wrong woman. And you say, what does that have to do with having a coach? Well, if you have the wrong woman, you're not going to make it. If you have the right woman, you're going to kill it. Okay. Number two, not having a brotherhood. Men have to have a good man in their life. If right now you and your wife were fighting, okay, and you called me, and I'm going to say, like, dude, your wife's incredible, bro. Like, you know how lucky you are. Like, look, your perspective on this situation, I promise you, is skewed in some way, shape, or form. And I'm going to tell you this, like, don't let this trigger you. Don't let this bother you. Never get emotional. Okay. Like, if somebody was to hurt her, you would kill him. Like, don't hurt her. Like, that's not who you are. Go back home. Even if it wasn't your fault, tell her you're sorry. You love her. You're the protector of your home. You're the man. Go take care of this. Okay. You know this already though. But now I told you, okay, go take care of it, bro. We love you. Have a good day. You're going to go home and you're going to make your life right. And that's it. And this is done. If you call the wrong guy, he says, you know what, dude? I'm going to be honest with you. I've never told you this, but I don't really like her anyways, bro. I think she's been using you the whole freaking time. I'm being for real, man. You deserve way better than her. You shouldn't have to put up with that crap, bro. Listen, come meet me down here at this bar. Let's talk about it. Brotherhood. Okay, so a coach to me is like having a brother. Or whoever, it's having somebody. It could be a male even teaching a woman, or a woman teaching a man. It doesn't have to, but I call the brotherhood is like that person that you can call that's like, dude, like talking life into you. And then by the way, like helping you troubleshoot issues, because I always say you're one step away from being in the wrong shoes. You're one step away from being in the right shoes, and getting you to the next level in life. The people that you currently have in your life, if you look to your left and your right, you probably don't have somebody that's trying to pull that next level out of you. That's what a coach does, dude. Basically, like, I'm just giving an example. Like if you paid me, you would pay me to give you an edge and figure out how to get you to the next level. And you know what? A lot of the times a coach ends up helping you in areas that you didn't think that coach was going to help you in. So it may be like, because you've made a lot of money, I may be like, oh, this is going to help me make more money. But in the end, you actually help me have a better marriage. You help me be a better father. You help me like myself more. You help me process information. I got to hijack the way that you think. And I'm like, oh my God, what's that worth? I mean, holy cow, dude, now you want to talk about making money? That's stupid. Now we're doing everything at a really high level. And so great people don't want coaching, they demand it.
Why is one of the most important jobs of a coach to piss people off?
Because sometimes, people need to get, they need to get, I always say this, like my wife knows how to trigger me, right? Like she knows how to trigger me. And so a coach's job to me is to trigger you to grow. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan had Tim Grover. Tim Grover would know how to poke Kobe to get him to play better. Look, dude, nobody's going to get better by kissing your butt.
Doesn't help anybody.
The job's to help you get better, which is why you're paying them. You're paying them for growth.
Let's talk about what it takes to work for you. And it's really not for you, it's with you. I hated in my career where someone said, oh, Randy works for me. It made me feel like shit. They're putting you down. You got a team. Mm-hmm. Your team is incredible. What does it take to work here? Values. Number one, standards, values, and you have to have a good heart, period. All the rest can be taught. Most of my salespeople here that work here, they were not coaches. They were not in the high ticket coaching space. They weren't in nothing. None of these people here have ever worked for a coaching company. They were people that were inside of my coaching company that were the greatest students, that had the biggest transformations, that I fell in love with. And then I was like, oh, I'm like a collector of people. I'm like, oh, these are my people. These are my family. This is my chosen family, basically. And so like we all have the same values. Here's what I'll tell you is you and your wife get along really well because you guys have alignment. I have the best wife in the world, by the way.
Yeah, but you have alignment though. Like you guys both align with the same stuff. Even when you don't see eye to eye, you still align. And so me and my team, anytime that we don't see eye to eye, we grow through suffering, but we're always in alignment. And so I think that was the key, is that we hire from alignment and we hire from a good heart. You can't give someone a good heart.
As part of the interview process here, you ask someone to share 3 things with you that they've never shared with somebody before. I'd like to ask you to share 3 things with me that you've never shared with anybody before.
Man, I'm pretty open book. It's probably got to be out there somewhere. Man, I don't know. I think I've shared everything, bro. Like one of the things my wife always says is that like, I just share everything. And the reason why is because I'm just not afraid of anything coming into the light. Once I decided to become an influence for people, I knew the enemy was going to attack me. So what I did is that I emptied all the bullets out of the enemy's gun as fast as I could. Does that make sense? It just told everything. And I said, I didn't used to like me either. But like, come meet me now and tell me you don't like me. Like I was that guy, I wouldn't have liked him either. I didn't like him either, but come meet me now. So I emptied all the bullets out of the enemy's gun and I told everything when I decided to start my coaching program to everyone. There is nothing that anyone knows about me that I haven't told. And people say, we don't like a private life. I don't have a private life. I've decided to be an example for people.
It's working.
Yeah.
You're killing it.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to share with you, like, I almost wish that I could have something, but my wife would be like, oh, good luck with that one. He tells everybody everything.
Right.
And so like, I wish I could make up something, but I've shared it all.
For me, one of the most important skills that anybody could have is the ability to knock on someone's door, go up to someone, shake somebody's hand, and cold calling. How critical is cold calling to our success?
Super important. The ability to master a stranger is probably the number one skill a human can have. master a stranger, walk up to someone you don't know and start a conversation, be kind, be polite. It's the most valuable skill on planet Earth. If you can learn that, you can write your own check.
And what's the advice to somebody who says, we have a summer intern program. We have 32 kids, Andy, every summer. It's a teaching internship, 8 to 6. And and they work on my beaches company. I have a company called Sandy, Sandee. It's a Yelp for beaches, essentially. We've cataloged over 120 categories of data for more than 140,000 beaches in 212 countries. So they all work on our company. And I tell people one of the assignments in the summer is you have to go out to strangers on the beach. You have to do what's known as a sandy dance. Well, what's a sandy dance? A sandy dance is for you to go and demonstrate to some stranger some crazy-ass dance that people laugh at and think it's funny, that you think would go viral in a TikTok video, and get them to do it. And everyone looks at me like, oh my God, like I cannot do that. I'm going to quit. This is terrible. I could never do that. And I say, you're going to go do it. It's not an ask. It's a requirement. You're going to go do it. And we have this rehearsal in the parking lot of the building, and everyone's, very stiff. And I said, man, that's not funny at all. And everyone's giggling and everyone's laughing. And they all go out. And I said, you got to create 10 videos. Everyone come back with 10 videos. You are required to come back. I don't care. 2 weekends, 3 weekends, you come back with 10 funny videos. We're going to go through those videos. And everyone says it's life-changing for them to be able to go up to someone on the beach, to someone who's enjoying the sun, don't want to talk to you, and then for you to go do something absolutely crazy and get someone else to do it. If you get someone else to do that, that's an incredible skill.
Facts. It's amazing.
Life-changing. Life-changing.
Yeah, they're just breakthroughs. Huge breakthroughs. At the end of their life, they'll look back and they'll say, I changed my life on that beach.
We're at the end of the show right now, and I always end the show with a game I call Fill in the Blank to Excellence. Are you ready to play?
Sure.
My number one professional goal is?
My number one professional goal is, man, anytime I say number one, I'm fighting like 9 million answers in my head. My professional goal is to probably be a great example of human excellence for the rest of my life.
My number one personal goal is?
Probably be the greatest daddy and husband that's ever lived until I die.
The biggest lesson I've learned in my life is?
Listen to your wife. She's always right.
The one thing somebody should say to themselves when they wake up in the morning is?
I believe in myself.
The one thing that they should say to themselves when they go to sleep at night is?
Bet against me, I dare you.
My biggest regret in life is?
Not listening to my wife sooner. I probably wouldn't be in trouble.
My biggest fear in life is?
Probably letting myself down.
When you were younger?
Probably now. Like I'm finding new levels every day. And like I don't ever want to get comfortable.
Do you ever get down?
No.
Never have a down day?
I just don't want to lose my edge. It's impossible. I'm so good at I've developed this edge that it can't be beat. Bro, I have every area in my life dialed.
The most prideful moment of my life is?
It's prideful. Is that a good pride or bad pride?
I never thought about it that way. Good and bad.
Yeah, because I know like some pride's bad, but then like some pride. So prideful would be probably when my kids are born. Like that was a really special gift.
Craziest thing that's happened in my life is?
I would say probably getting another chance at life. That was pretty crazy. I thought I was going to be in the car business till I die. If you'd have told me, I 50x my income in 3 years. People that do that. But it's like getting struck by lightning.
The funniest thing that's happened to me in my life is?
Probably looking at pictures of me whenever I was fat with hair, which we should see that.
The best advice I've ever received is?
The greatest gift you could ever give yourself in life is spending time working on yourself.
The worst advice I've ever been given is?
People like you don't make it.
The most I've ever bench pressed is?
I got a hurt shoulder, so I think probably 225 pounds is all I've ever lifted.
10 years from now, I'm going to be?
Ripped.
20 years from now, I'm going to be?
Jacked.
If you could pick one trait that leads to somebody's success, it would be?
One trait?
One trait.
Communication. The art of communication.
The most important trait that's contributed to my success is?
Persuasion. Influence.
The one thing I've dreamt about doing for a long time but haven't is?
I'd probably give my wife a little bit more sleep. Like, she don't ever get to sleep. My wife says success to her would be to sleep in.
My amazing wife is sitting right there. I'm going to be hearing this.
She's like, are we ever going to sleep in?
Oh
And
my
I'm
God,
like,
I'm going to be hearing this for the rest of my life.
but my wife says that's what the definition of success is to her, is to sleep in. And I'm like, she's like, and we're still not successful.
If I could coach one person in the world, it would be
my son.
You have an opportunity to coach your son.
Mm-hmm. But that's who it would be, though, is my son. Like, I'm coaching him, but like, it's him. Like, he's my only son.
If you could go back and give your 21-year-old self one piece of advice, it would be,
don't be around the wrong people.
If you're President Trump today, sitting in the Oval Office, the next thing that you would do is
make it mandatory to make kids be able to start doing push-ups and sit-ups and the stuff they used to do in class when we were young. Used to be able to do, everybody had to do 7 pull-ups, 50 crunches, and we had to be able to run a mile in under 8 minutes. Like, that was mandatory for kids. I don't remember what it was called, but I would say that goes effective immediately.
The one question you wish I'd asked you but didn't is?
I don't know, man. You asked a lot of questions.
Do you have any questions you want to ask me?
One regret you have in your life?
The one regret I have in my life is probably, and I'm going to answer this in an easy way, but the most profound way. I don't have any regrets because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be the person who I am today without living the life that I've lived so far.
But if you could change that.
If I could change the one thing, I think I would have learned at an earlier age to build healthy relationships and learn lessons from my past and know that I had the ability to change at an earlier age as opposed to as I get older and more mature and more into self-assessment and reflection and learning and devoting to improving myself to be the best person I could be. Yeah. I would have started a lot earlier.
It's a big one. Anybody watching this, falling in love with learning yourself is a superpower.
There's a problem too, and I know I was very successful and made a lot of money at a young age, and people think, okay, that's so great, and you have everything in the world, and you really, most people would want to be in that position, right? 99.99999% of the people in the world would love to be in that position, but it also doesn't allow you to develop as much emotionally as you would if you were building a business over a long period of time. And also, as weird as it sounds, it also creates very significant problems in relationships around you. It creates familial issues, which people have all kinds of unrealistic expectations, friend issues, unrealistic expectations, jealousy, envy, backstabbing. And I think as I look back at it, if I had been 56 today and then not 32 years old or 33 years old when I made a lot of money, I would have handled situations very, very differently. And I would have not given a shit what people thought of me, which today I don't, then I did.
Yeah. And, back then, and I love that, back then we didn't have the ability to watch a podcast.
There were no podcasts.
Didn't exist. So I would say if you're lucky enough to watch it, doing it changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, when I made it, our company went public a year after we started the company. Our company was worth $14.4 billion. The day that the stock traded went up to $35 billion, I think 490 days after we started the company. And it was craziness. And you look around and you say, this can't be happening to me. And you really don't know who to talk to. And there weren't a lot of people in similar situations who had been that, who were your age. There were only a couple, and I'm not going to name who they were. But I remember having these conversations, sitting at this guy's $30 million house in Malibu, a young guy, well-known guy. And I said to him, hey, man, I said, we're talking about high-class problems that are real-world problems. And I said, it'd be weird for people to listen on a microphone on this conversation because they're high-class problems, but it comes, like I said, with all kinds of responsibilities and pressures that people don't think about. And everyone's looking at you under a microscope. Everyone's waiting for you to act like an asshole. Everyone's waiting for you to be arrogant. Everyone's hating on your word. Everyone's just waiting for you to make a mistake. And everyone's talking about you. Back then, there were no unicorns. It was very rare. And you're that guy, and you're walking into a restaurant, and all your peers, highly educated, the lawyers, the investment bankers, the whisper, and just being on that microscope wasn't very comfortable. and you just want to crawl in your shell. And what I learned along the way too is just you got to be yourself, be the same person, and stay humble. And I think at the end of the day, I think all my friends, they'll say one thing. And again, I made a lot of mistakes. I'm sure I've pissed people off. I know I pissed people off.
Part of the learning curve.
And I'm sure I know I've acted very, very badly. But the one thing that I've done is I've stayed very grounded, stayed very humble. And you talk to all my boys back in the day, friends from college, high school, will say, I'm definitely the same exact person I was then.
That's good. Love it, man.
Appreciate it. You're amazing, Andy. Appreciate you.
That's great.
This was awesome.